everybody, good morning, good morning, good morning. Sorry, a couple minutes late today, but we are here and we are ready for the final live stream for Etch. You know, Geary.co, don't know. Final live stream for Etch of the year. Our team is about to go on break and we're gonna get some well-needed rest, but we wanted to close out the year with a recap. I wanted to show you guys some things, some of the latest stuff. We'll be encouraging a lot of you. By the way, say hi in the chat, okay? Drop a like. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. This isn't Geary.co, okay? So if you came here and you're subscribed to the Geary.co channel, this is not that channel, right? So make sure you're subscribed to this one as well. We've got Rip in the chat. Dulu and Justin and Vince and World's Worst Web Developer is here. Good to see you. You have to leave it early today. That's no good. It's no good. Stay the whole thing. Stay the whole thing. So we have some good stuff to show you, and we've got a lot to cover. I've got Mateo with me here. Howdy, Mateo.
Hey, everyone.
All right. So I was pulling up, we were getting our local install ready here so I can pull up and demo some stuff. If you're, you haven't done a lot of these streams, the goal of these streams, by the way, we do them every single month. The goal is to show you what we've accomplished over the last month. Now, this is a bit special because it's the last stream of the year. We're kind of doing a full recap of what's happened over the entire year. But that's generally what we do on these monthly Etch live streams. We look at what's happened over the past month that's significant, okay, and noteworthy. Of course, we do releases every single week, okay? So you're seeing new features and interacting with new features the entire month, but we like to do a recap at the very end. We also do Q&A. If you want to ask questions, you need to use the hashtag Q before your question. So just write hashtag Q, then write your question. If you want to see a specific demo of something, so if there's a feature you've been playing with or that you don't understand or you don't know what it's for, you just want us to demo something. Can't be something crazy. Hey, do a full site build. I want to okay, we can't do that. You got to give us something that's manageable, okay? But use hashtag demo for demo requests, okay? All right. What we're going to do here is I'm going to pull up the Etch interface so I don't forget the screen share because I'm going to get into some notes, and then when I start demoing stuff, I will forget sometimes. Let's see if we can make this a wide, there we go, a little wide thumbnail. And guys, I get that when I start demoing stuff that our thumbnail, it's going to cover some of the HTML, a little bit of the HTML. By and large, you don't need to see what's happening a lot in the HTML. The action is happening other places, okay? So unless I'm actually really covering up something that's super important, don't say anything about, hey, your thing's covering the, if it's insignificant to what we're doing, then don't worry about it, okay? Yes, I did do a full site build this week already. Yes, hopefully I can talk well today. Okay, I'm gonna bring up my notes for this live stream. So we got a lot to cover. We're gonna start out, just a big thank you, obviously, to the team. And for those of you who have been following closely the Etch development, participating in the Etch development, doing testing, and some of you even helping with docs, like, I want you to take a minute, just, you guys have an opportunity in the chat real quick to thank the team as well while I do this. Of course, starting at the top with the leadership, mostly Mateo driving as the CTO, the direction of our release schedule, the Monday meetings that we have constantly, making sure everybody is in the right seat on the bus and everybody is aware of the direction the bus is headed. That is absolutely critical to the success that we've had on the development side of things. And really just everything in general. The design team, Tommy and Jeremy. We had a discussion. I had a discussion yesterday with Tommy where we're talking about mini GUI stuff. There's been a lot of challenges because we are not copying what else is out there. We are paving our own way. And we're doing a lot of innovating, and we're doing a lot of things differently than how they've been done in the past. And there's no blueprint for it, which means that all of the challenges that we run into, we have to find solutions for. And we have a philosophy with the UI. I think a lot of people are very familiar with, which we'll talk about more in a minute, how the UI has come together in terms of an experience that is, I would describe it as lightning fast and efficient. We know I call it an anti-inception UI because this is what plagues almost all other builder environments, is this the land of 1,000 switches, very inception-y with the panels hiding panels and modals and accordions and panels and modals and like craziness, chaos, right? And so we have a lot of restriction in terms of, what we are going to do in the UI. And I told Tommy yesterday, because we were kind of talking through this challenge, and I was like, it's kind of like, a rocket engineer, like a NASA rocket engineer. It's like, hey, we need this new thing to go on the rocket, but it can't add any weight and there's no space for it. Like, and that's kind of like the situation we're always finding ourselves in. And so we have to be very, very just creative with how we approach certain things. And Tommy and Jeremy both, throughout this entire process, like the way things have come together from a visual perspective, that is all thanks to them and their hard work. So wanted to acknowledge them. The dev team, of course, Reinhard, Waji, Chris, Nuno, Pedro, Andrea. So 3,268 commits this year. That's 63 commits per week on average. The average lead time for a commit, 3.7 days. Sometimes commits fail, right? You're not perfect. Sometimes commits fail. They create an issue. They create a bug. The average hot fix time for a failed commit is 31 hours, okay? So something goes not great on a release. On average, it's fixed within 31 hours, okay? 91 public releases. That's 1.8 releases per week on average. So you got to give props to the dev team. It's been absolutely phenomenal. We are way ahead of where I expected to be. I think we're way ahead of where everybody expected Etch to be. The end result of all of this is that in a little over a year, we have not just a usable development environment. We have a development environment that is kicking ass and taking names, and it's already just people are telling me left and right, like it's a done deal. I already switched. There's no going back to anything else. And once you use it, you kind of start to get that feeling. And that's all thanks to the dev team. We can have the prettiest designs in the world. We can have the greatest blueprints. We can have the greatest Figma files. If you can't architect that stuff properly, if you can't put that stuff into code, if you can't make it actually work and you can't make it stable, we don't have anything. We don't have anything. So major props to the dev team. The support team, Alicia, Tobias, Brendan. The way that they show up to where I don't ever feel like I have to jump in. Now, you guys know that I jump in as much as I possibly can. I try to interact with the community as much as possible, but I never feel like I have to. Because I always feel like, hey, if I'm gone today, if I'm gone to wherever, they got it handled. On the account management side of things, I never feel like I have to even look. I don't even have to peek at any of that stuff. They take all of that off our plate. And then, of course, I want a big thank you to customers. Actually, I want to say one more thing about the support team, especially like on the Tobias side, the Brenda side. Like, you guys got to understand, and this is not just Etch, okay? There is automatic CSS. There is frames. There is Etch. Having a support team that really, really understands the technical side of all of this. And I think for those of you who have interacted with them, you know the kind of answers that you get back, the detail, their understanding of, they're not constantly coming to us being like, how does this feature work? How's this supposed to work? What should I tell people? They just know. They use the tools themselves. They study the docs themselves. They do this stuff day in and day out. They're not just a person put in a spot to manage comments and likes and feedback and stuff like that. They literally know the products inside and out, which is, it's unbeatable. Obviously, big thank you to our customers being involved in the process. For those of you who literally in 0.1 are installing it and like, hey, I'll play with it. I'll tell you what I think. Okay. From that first week, from that first release, all of that stuff has been just invaluable. And people are, they look at labels like alpha, they look at labels like beta, and we're actually constantly having to kind of like defend against this, where people say, I love what you're doing. I love what you're doing. I'll touch it when it's 1.0 and it's stable. And it's like, dude, it's stable. Like it's stable in alpha, it's stable in beta. Like, and the reason it's stable is because we do weekly releases. We do, like, the minute something's available, it's in the hands of users who are using it, telling us if it's stable or not stable or where it's going wrong. And then it's fixed on an average of 31.2 hours. And if you know if something's not complete this week or not working 100% this week, you know it's probably going to be working next week because it's a weekly release. And so this has given a lot of confidence to our user base. Like, our actual users know this is the case, right? I want everybody to know this is the case. Like, we're not... This is not typical software development. Again, this credit goes back to Matteo. This is not critical. This is not a typical software development where there's a release and it's super buggy, and then everybody twiddles their thumbs until maybe, hopefully, next month a release comes that fixes some of that stuff, or maybe 2 months. Maybe we'll hear again from the dev team. Like, no, every single week, like sometimes multiple releases per week. Okay. And so customers have come to know that and see that, and that's an insanely valuable aspect of Etch as well. But again, 62.7 thousand comments and likes in the community, and that's just Etch alone. That's not even automatic CSS, which is a completely separate community, right? So 62.7 thousand comments and likes in the community. That's you guys. And it's not just testing and providing feedback and all of that stuff. It's helping others. You know, the reason why we don't have to load up 5 more support team people is because our community is so helpful. When you post in the community, you know you're going to get 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 responses from other users. And we actually have the benefit, okay, because we can brag about our community a little bit here. When we target people who know what they're doing as a customer base, that is our avatar. It's people who know what they're doing or who want to know what they're doing, right? That's the general avatar. Do you know what you're doing? You'll love Etch. Do you want to know what you're doing? You'll need to use Etch. You should be using Etch, right? So that's why I said beginner, intermediate, advanced doesn't matter. It's, do you know what you're doing or do you want to know? Because if you fit into one, now if you don't want to know, if you're just a lay person, hey, I just need a Bunko Club website. Hey, I just need one website. I don't care to do web design at all. I just need, okay, good. It's not for you. It's not for you. But if you want to do this stuff, you want to learn, you want to be good at this, you want to do stuff the right way, then it's for you, okay? Regardless of your current skill level. We attract those kinds of people. Well, guess what? Those kinds of people tend to be very, very helpful on their own. And they are willing to dive in, not just in helping other people in the community, which does take a lot of pressure off our support team, but even like we've had users writing docs, okay? Like shout out to Zach as a prime example, okay? DMing me behind the scenes with various aspects of functionality, little pieces of function. Hey, you know, you might want to pass this along to the dev team. Maybe they could find it useful, things like that. I don't think this happens much in other communities, because when you're a community that targets like literally telling people, hey, you don't need to know what you're doing and you don't even need to care about learning, you know, just come in and click some buttons, and those people can't help anybody else when they come in. So you've got communities full of people that really aren't helpful to anybody, okay? That's not us. That's not our community. Our community knows what they're doing, okay? And they're willing to help others reach higher levels, which is very, very important. It's a huge distinction. So big thank you to our customers and our community. Let me go. We'll check the chat here real quick. Give me some thumbs up. Give me some LFGs. Okay. I like Tommy's comment here. I don't know what I'm doing, but Etch is helping me learn by being able to see what's going on in one screen. Do you have something, Mateo?
No. I was just reading the comments as well and enjoying this one. I also found it funny that while you were discussing and explaining how we do development differently and we release very frequently, I was releasing an update.
Yeah, nice.
For the license, the license thing that broke with beta 8.
Excellent.
So most likely you guys who are in chat, you won't even notice that for a short period of time, you couldn't activate your license, your Etch license.
Yeah, yes. All fixed up. I saw this comment. Where did it go? Because I just accidentally scrolled away from it. Yeah, striped goat. This is all possible because the team is motivated above just money. I think that's absolutely correct.
Yes.
We are here to make an impact. We are here to it's said it on our website for a while now, but I think people are starting they're starting to understand what it means. We are on a mission. Can I zoom in? Oh, it's a little much, but we are on a mission to change the landscape of front-end development. Okay, that's what we're here for. And I've always said, like, if you accomplish that mission, there's going to be no money problems, right? That's the number one thing, and you can't. That's why you can't fake the passion. You can't fake the level of engagement that we have. Always showing up in the community. All of our team. Showing up with education, the way we show up with education, video after video after video, and live stream after live stream after live stream, and release after release after release, and innovative feature after innovative. That comes from actual passion. That comes from actually wanting to make an impact that is meaningful. Nothing else matters. Nothing else matters. Everything takes care of itself when that is the goal. Okay. Okay. Let me bring my notes back up. So let's talk about
well said.
What's that? What's up?
Yeah, absolutely well said.
On that line, some notable decisions that we had to make along the way. Okay, deviations from previous eras of how things were done. I wanted to highlight some of these things because all of these things have end up coming together to paint the picture that we currently have of Etch. Number one was exposing the code. When every other tool was obsessed with hiding the code, we decided we're going to expose the code. We're going to give every user code access, not just to be able to manipulate it, but also to be able to learn from it, to see it being written. Because for beginners, when you see it, when you click a button to add a section to a page and you see the code being written in front of your eyes, your brain is interpreting and seeing and familiarizing itself and learning that syntax. And you're able to read code better as you go through that methodology. The same thing with CSS, seeing the CSS being authored when you use CSS quick actions, like the mini GUI, for example. But exposing the code when every other tool, and by the way, I think people don't understand the impact of this as it relates to the era of AI. And I'll talk a little bit about what Figma is doing, what Cursor is doing. They're doing, you see this happening throughout the marketplace, where Figma realizes, hey, we have given a pure visual experience to design, and we have a big problem that we don't translate to code. A lot of their features don't translate properly to code, and they have no publishing platform to take something that is a design and bring it to life in the world of code. They don't have that. They are desperately trying to achieve that. They're going back to code. Okay, they're trying to get back to the code. Cursor was all code, and they realized we don't have the visual. And so what did they do recently? They built a visual layer on top to where you manipulate, and now it's going to absolutely rob everybody of every token they've ever had. But that's that. They realize people like a visual experience. They like to see what they're doing as they work. Okay, they don't want to hop back and forth between a browser and Cursor. They want things to happen right there in that layer. Unified might be a good word for it. So you see all of these tools who went one way and they neglected the other way. And what are they doing now? They're rushing to add the other piece. And it's not being, in my estimation, being added very well because it's very difficult to do that. It's very difficult to do that. What Etch did is said, hey, we're going to respect both pieces. We know visual is so important. We also know the code is so important. Why are we trying to just separate one from the other? Put them together. Give people both at the same time. That's all you should do, right? And it turns out that is the winning concept. And in AI, you need access to the code. Nobody, even people that love AI, they don't want to exclusively interact with AI to get things done. They want to be able to touch the code if they need to touch the code. And you're going to see that. It's people are going to abandon purely no code, purely AI solutions for solutions that do give them AI, but allow them to touch the code when needed, okay? We went with a modular, again, what I call an anti-inception interface. Why? Because I observed, and in my experience with all of these tools, one of the big problems of visual development environments is inception. It is panel after panel after panel after panel. The thing I really need is not in view. I have to go find it. I have to scroll to it. I have to accordion to it. I have to modal to it. And sometimes it's a modal, inside of an accordion, inside of a panel. And sometimes when I click this panel, that panel goes away, or this panel covers that panel, and you get lost in this inception-y kind of experience. And it's very mentally taxing. It's very annoying. It's very inefficient. Okay. And so what we said is, one, people should be able to configure, let me hop back here. People should be able to configure the layout according to whatever they prefer, okay? So if I don't prefer anything along the bottom, why should I have big panels along the bottom, right? If I want my CSS and my HTML in the sidebars together, maybe they should be able to live together. You know, that kind of thing is very important so that people can tailor their workflow to exactly what they want. But also everything is in view all at the same time. Now I prefer this down here, okay? I prefer this layout right here. But again, everybody gets to work with what they prefer. But this is very, very important. This is why people say that Etch is insanely efficient to work in, because everything that you need is available at all times. And nothing covers up anything else, and nothing is hidden away, and you don't have to, you get it. You get it, okay? We had to come up with an interface that other people were not using. Full selector system, okay? We still haven't scraped the potential, by the way, for the full selector system, but the idea, again, because I identify problems and common issues, right? In workflows and all of these other tools. Bear in mind that most of these other tools think you're too dumb to use classes. So some of them don't even give you classes. They give you presets, fancy little presets, and all this dumbed down nonsense, right? Well, not only do we give you classes, I mean, you have the ability to write a class or an ID at the same time that you are adding an ARIA label to the object, okay? My label. At the same time that maybe you are styling that ARIA label, okay? All of this can happen at the exact same time in this quick actions bar right here, to where I hit add and all that stuff that I wanted to happen instantly happens, okay? And have it parse every kind of valid selector, including compound selectors and complex selectors, CSS, the way that we did CSS nesting, all of that stuff is a deviation from how it's been done in other visual environments. We deprecated the styling panel. The thing that makes up 60% of every existing visual builder, styling panel, it's in Webflow, it's in Elementor, it's in Divi, it's in everything. And it's not just in these things, it's literally 60% of how users interact with the interface. We decided we're not going to do that. It's time for a new approach to that. And that's where the mini GUI came in, the CSS quick actions bar. And it's completely revolutionizing how people are using visual builders and doing visual development without having to write CSS. We're going to take a look at this more in a moment. And not only is it way faster. And not only is it way better in so many different ways, but it's completely customizable now to where it gives you the values that you want. Not the values that we decided, but the values that you want as an individual developer. Auto block authoring. The idea that, hey, when you build something in Etch, it should just magically appear as blocks in Gutenberg for a client editing experience, for data liberation, and actually for a lot more. Oh, I was going to mention on the full Selector system, what I don't think people understand what's coming, that there's already a proof of concept for. The idea that you can actually take HTML from any source, and this is going to tie into the block authoring that I was just talking about, but you can take HTML from any source. Obviously, there's going to be selectors all over that HTML. You paste it into Etch. Etch already parses all of those selectors into its selector system. It can't bring the CSS though. But very soon you will be able to say, hey, Etch, I got the HTML from this site right here. And it's going to take that URL, it's going to scan it for style sheets, and it's going to look in those style sheets for those selectors. It's going to grab those styles, and it's going to attach them to the selectors in Etch. And when you hit save, all of that you just took from one site to another site is now authored also to blocks instantly, right? That we haven't even reached you haven't seen, we're surface level on what you've seen with the selector system, with the copy and paste import system, with all of that stuff. Okay, back to auto block authoring. What else does auto block authoring open the door to? In Q1, we're going to be working on a connector plugin. A functionality plugin. It doesn't have a name yet. It's going to be free. When you build things in Etch, whether it's a pattern or a component, whether it has loops or logic or embedded PHP or JavaScript, or it doesn't matter, anything, whatever is required to make that pattern look the right way and function correctly, you will be able to sell or share with a non-Etch user, somebody who doesn't even own an Etch license. The entire WordPress ecosystem would be open to share or sell to, because they will be able to install the free Etch functionality plugin, and everything built in Etch will just work for them. That's it, right? So what this is going to do for the ecosystem, what this is going to do for your ability to sell and share to the ecosystem, what this is going to do when the ecosystem realizes that this actually is and should be the standard for how everything is built in WordPress. This is the centralized development environment for all things WordPress. No more block themes. No more block themes. No, you need a blank slate block theme, and you need an actual literal development environment that handles all of the things that you want to build. And that's all you need. You don't need an army of block themes. You don't need an army of block pattern libraries. You need one unified thing that talks to everything else and that connects to everything else. And that's it. That's all you need. We don't need get rid of the whole theme library, get rid of the whole block theme library. Just do actual development, just translate it into block language, and just make it shareable to everybody. How about that? How about that? So that's coming. Probably Q1. That's the goal. Block-based conditional logic. The idea that, no, we're not gonna, I know every other builder, you assign logic to an element, right? Conditions. We're gonna do that differently too. We're gonna create a block system of conditions where you can put things in a condition. It's a container like anything else, and it doesn't output anything on the front end. It's a ghost container, but it does control the visibility of those items, the behavior of those items. Very, way more flexible than assigning conditions to an element the way that so many other interfaces do it. Block-based looping with support for multiple root elements. Again, just a different approach, a more flexible approach to looping. How about we let people actually write the PHP arguments for loops or copy it from AI or wherever they want to get it from, right? Not a proprietary system for looping. How about not loops attached to elements, but loops that are, again, ghost containers for controlling the looping of items, but that don't actually output anything, any junk on the front end. Loop arguments. How about the ability to dynamically write an argument and now have a fallback value for changing the behavior of an existing loop, so you don't need an army of loops. We don't want an army of loop presets. No. We want a loop that loops things, and then I need the ability to control the behavior of loop on each instance of the loop. You don't see that very often. Component slots. The dynamic canvas. Going to the extent of saying, guys, I don't think, I know every other interface has the cute little icons for the media queries, but I don't think that's era 4. I think we should get rid of those. I think we should move to something that we're going to call a dynamic canvas. And I think you don't actually ever need to worry about media query presets ever again, because not only are they not relevant, but they're annoying. And not only that, but you can just, why can't we just dynamically insert a media query where the tool measures the view that I'm currently looking at for the media query that I obviously want right there. That's what an interface should do for you. It should help you. It should stop getting in your way the way all of these other interfaces do. It should stop confining you into cute little preset nonsense. It should just do what you expect it to do. It should do something helpful. I'm looking at this view. I want to change something at this view. I'd like a media query. It gives you a media query at this view. It puts it in a to-rem function so that you don't have to worry about the rem output on the front end. You still have a usable value that you can stare at. And we're about to tokenize media queries and container queries, which is not only possible in CSS. It's not possible in CSS to tokenize media queries and container queries, much less in any other interface, but it is going to be possible in Etch, because we recognize the importance of something like this where nobody else does, because the other tools are not worried about you. The other tools are worried about your mom and your aunt and your cousin and all the people who don't know what they're doing. That's who all the other tools are worried about. They're not worried about you, right? Etch is worried about you. Etch is saying, oh, you know what you're doing. Let me help you out, okay? And then the people who want to learn the right way. That's the golden ticket. Now, we've got the dynamic canvas. We also said, because now we clearly have proven you don't need preset media queries. Not only do you not need, they just don't make any sense. This makes way more sense. Build according to the component you're looking at. Make that component responsive, and not responsive to this preset, this preset, this preset, but everywhere in between. The entire range of responsiveness. You are now in Etch building the most accurately responsive websites that have ever been built. And then also saying, hey, by the way, this container query thing really needs to take off. Okay, it's been around for a couple of years now. Nobody seems to be respecting it or paying attention to it. And I had a couple theories about that. And I said, I think it's because of two big limitations. One of which is you have to assign the parent as the measurable container. Some people don't understand that, and it's also doesn't seem to have a good pathway for doing it, especially in the world of components and all of that. And I came up with the has-me selector. And I wrote a whole article on the has-me selector. I did a whole video on the has-me selector, and then we baked the has-me selector right into the quick actions bar, right? Which was previously baked into the right-click selector context menu. But what this instantly does is it doesn't matter where this component lives now, or this pattern, or this element, or whatever I'm applying this to. It is automatically going to assign its parent as a measurable container, and then the container queries will just work the same way media queries work, and you don't have to do any extra thinking, and you don't need any extra selectors, and the code lives with the thing that it's supposed to live with, which means it also is portable and exportable. Okay, these are the kinds of things that when you say we are trying to change the landscape of front-end development, this is what I'm talking about. And there are many other tools, okay? There is no shortage of page builders. And I think, a lot of people, you would maybe at a glance just pass things off. Okay, that just sounds like marketing, right? You go to Etch WP, you go to Why Etch. And it literally says right here, didn't you hear WordPress doesn't need another page builder? And we completely agree. That's why Etch isn't another page builder. Well, there's a lot of people that don't read any further. There's a lot of people that go, I think that's just marketing. I think that's just words. I think they just want to sell things. But the people who actually have their eyes open and their mind open, and they look at what's actually being done, and they look at how the tool actually works, come to the conclusion that, yes, this is not just another thing. This is actually the thing that is causing it will cause every other tool on the market to have to respond, to have to pick up the pace, to have to make major architectural changes to how they approach things, because things are actually being done differently, okay? And there's a lot of people that respect that. There's a lot of people that need to get their head out of the sand and open their eyes and accept that. Okay, let's see. We did loop arguments, we did dynamic canvas, dynamic breakpoints and container queries, and then just the unified workflow in general, okay? We did a proof of concept for this, but in Etch, the ability to go to a content hub, to see my post types, to create new custom post types, to create new custom fields. This is a proof of concept. Having the media access right here as well, which right now is just the stupid default WordPress media library nonsense. I can show you Figma files for what is going to come for the media query. But I think once people realize, okay, that the ability to create custom post types, instantly create and assign fields to those post types, instantly manage media, instantly jump over to templates that are now available for those post types, archives and singles and all this stuff, and do all of this in one place without ever interacting with the dinosaur WP admin, right? When you can do all of this stuff seamlessly in one place, the way that changes the game for your workflow, it's, once again, it's going to undeniably be the place that people want to do their work, because it's insanely efficient. And here's what people have been saying, and I love this. This is the best feedback that we ever get. Just people say it over, they repeat it over and over and over again. It's the way that it should have been. It's the way that it should have always been. That is the feedback. That is the best possible feedback that we can get. Not, ooh, this is great. Ooh, this is innovative. Ooh, that, no. They literally go, this is the way that it should have always been. And to me, that's the best feedback possible. So that's kind of the highlights of notable decisions and deviations from existing patterns that we've made. I want to highlight a couple features. These were heavily worked on this month. And again, props to the development team for how fast this has come together. So this is the quick actions bar right here, if you're not familiar with it. Let me scroll down just a little bit. And are we still good in the chat, Mateo? Do we have any?
There's a few questions I'm noting down.
Okay,
but
I will definitely.
If you want to keep rolling, I have them saved.
Okay, let me check my text real quick. 1 second. Hold on 1 second.
Yeah, no problem. In the meantime, I can answer a couple of questions. So there was one that asked, when can we get a CSS linter? Which I've already seen, Jeremy, you replied to that. But it's very funny because in just a day, Jeremy worked on a little proof of concept for what a linter could be in the CSS panel. I haven't replied to you, by the way, but I saw it and I think it's really good. There's also another question. Now that Etch is built on Svelte, are there any plans to expand it so you can use it directly in Svelte? I know that Chris and Reinhardt have some ideas on the subject, and there's a good chance that something will happen in the near future. Though I will say this is not necessarily the most immediate concern. So not soon, but on our radar. Is there going to be a group prop for grouping props? Oh, okay. You're back just in time.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Is there going to be a group prop for grouping props? I don't think we've discussed that we...
No, there is. Yeah. We discussed it. It's mainly... Okay. Well, it's for two separate reasons. Sorry, my daughter was incessantly knocking on my door.
No problem.
So... Two reasons. One is it's required for when we introduce the repeater functionality for props, because right now so for everybody that's wondering, what is mostly the object prop for? That is the repeater prop. It just doesn't have a UI for it. It needs a UI. And part of the UI is grouping. So the ability to say, hey, these two fields or these three fields or whatever belong together, and then I want to be able to duplicate those a certain number of times or whatever. That's all related to the object prop. It also requires grouping, obviously. But it's also important to just be able to group props in general, where you say, hey, like I have a CTA. Actually, if we go to patterns, and I go to the intro component. Let's see, features, testimonials, headers, content footer. Where is it? Maybe I didn't put it in separately. Let's go to a hero because they'll have it. So this is like an intro component right here. Let me go to hero Juliet. So you have like the primary CTA. Well, a CTA is going to have the label, maybe the style, the URL. Okay. So it's helpful if those are not just fields floating around. If they're grouped together in a primary CTA group and a secondary CTA group, because there's also the switch of whether you show or hide the CTA. When you're building out a component, it's very, very helpful to group things together. And then, of course, we're also going to be bringing in logic for props and saying that, hey, when the primary CTA is hidden, maybe the group of those fields disappears so that they're not just still awkwardly kind of sitting there, even though you're not using the primary CTA. Having groups is very important for logic as well. So grouping is 100%, yeah, coming to props.
All right.
Okay.
That was another interesting question. I don't know, but do you wanna keep going with the features?
Yeah, let me see where yeah. Okay, so the mini GUI, that's where I left off. Okay. So for those, because I want to make sure, I know a lot of people have seen it by now, okay? I'm not going to get into the whole spiel of like all the problems. Okay, I've done so many live streams and explanations of problems with the styling panel UI. But as you can see here, because people were concerned that, hey, I don't want to write all of my CSS in Etch. I don't want to have to write it. And I don't want to have AI have to write it, okay? I want to be able to click buttons and I want it to write the CSS for me, okay? So we got rid of the styling panels. We bring in this concept, which by the way is still in its infancy, okay? And I can show you guys Figma files of the next iteration of this that's already coming. But here's an example. And by the way, you see it has nice names, okay? So when you look at an icon, you see margin space M, okay? You know what you're gonna get, margin space M. Now, what if you need more than just space M? Well, you can right click and you have a context menu. And what's good about this context menu is it's not like ACSS specific or just random values that we came up with. It's whatever you want it to be. It's literally whatever you want it to be. So you can come in here and hit custom value and you could say space S. And maybe you have a variable called space S. And now you have another option for your spacing. This is what I meant when I said it's going to insert the values that you wanted to insert. Now there's an action of left click, right click. If I left click, I get the thing that I have as the default, okay? If I right click, and I actually don't even have to remove that. If I right click, I would get the other option. Okay, did I do it on, I did it on margin. Okay, I should do it on padding. So let's do it on padding as well. So I wanna do space S, and I'm gonna say var space S. So this is gonna be my option on padding as well. So if I right click, I get all of my options, and I can go, boom, and now it is changed to space S, right? If I wanna change it back to space M, I can change it right back to space M. And see, this one is programmed to have a fallback value as well. But you can quickly come in and say, okay, I'm gonna need a gap on this. I'm gonna need this to be flex direction column. I'm gonna need to justify center and align to the center. And you can see how quickly I'm able to start styling things. And then you're probably wondering, like, are we actually seeing that on the screen? Yeah, we are. So I do padding and I do a gap and I do, let's go in here. I can even go position relative. Let me steal one of these, okay? Watch, I'm gonna throw an image in here and I'm gonna position it absolute, just as a little demonstration here, okay? Let's go, I'm gonna get my sidebar panel open. I had this from testing earlier where I had it closed. It is the element settings. All right, I'm gonna choose, I don't know, let's go with this one right here. Okay, first problem with this image is it's very tall, okay? So one thing I'm gonna do, and I'm just gonna put a random class or ID on here, it doesn't matter for the purposes of this demo, but I can come in now and I can have aspect ratio changes. Again, if I left click, I get 16:9. If I right click, I get any of these predetermined aspect ratios that I might want. Let's choose like 5:7 as an example, or 4:3, or make it a square, okay? The next thing that I can do is I can object fit it. So object fit cover, boom. Now it's gonna not warp. It's gonna look like a normal image. It's gonna crop properly. Then what I can do, I'm gonna go in, so I'm gonna position this container relative by clicking that button right there. So that gives me a relative position, which means now I can absolute position this one. So if I right click, I get all of my position options. I can absolute position it. I then get inset options because it knows, hey, you did this position absolute, you're probably gonna need these positional options as well. So I'm gonna say bottom and right. I'm also gonna come over here and I'm gonna hit on the width because I want this to be 300 pixels and nothing else. So it's nice and small, right? And so I'm now starting to position this. I want this box to have a background color. So let's go background color. White is my default, but I can change this to base ultra light or whatever I want to do. And then you know what? I want to put a minimum height on here. So I'm going to hit this and my minimum height, I want to be like 60, 70, 80, something like that. I now have whatever I decided the styling needed to be with this image attached to the bottom right-hand corner. And I can always come in and I could say, you know, instead of 0, I want 1em here and I want 1em here. So now it's not touching the edges. It's got a little bit of space, right? I'm doing all of this, right? I'm showing you that we solved the problem where people were concerned with, I don't want to have to write all the CSS. You don't have to write all the CSS. You come in here, you click icons, it comes to life. And not only are you clicking icons and you're not getting random values, you're getting the exact values that you want for a very hyper fast workflow, okay? And you can even program in calcs. You can program these, except any valid value can be programmed in here. Let me show you something about, let's transition this here, okay? Because I want to show you something about nesting real quick. So if I come in, I can look, I have box shadows, I've got opacities, I've got contrast, I've got different filters. I can translate it, okay? So maybe I want, and we don't have the hover states in here quite yet. These are gonna be in the quick actions bar very soon. But if I wanna hover, and notice when I go into a hover block, all these options reset for me because I'm now in a new context of styling, okay? And I don't need to worry about what's going on up here. I only need to worry about what's going on in the hover state. What if I want to translate this? What if I want to scale it? By the way, it needs to be positioned relative to do this stuff. And what if I want to rotate it 45 degrees? And I don't know why. Let me see if I can get a, oh yeah, I'm sorry. I was doing that on hover. So we're not actually going to see any of that stuff until I hover. So scale 1.1, and I'm just putting random values in here. There you go. So like that. Now I want to transition. So I'm going to come up here, and here's some interesting logic. And these are like some of the challenges that we've been working on solving for, right? This transition icon was not here a minute ago. It's only here now because the CSS editor detected a hover state. And so when there's a hover state, then you're gonna need a transition. Or when there's a focus state, or when there's any of these states, you're gonna need a transition. So it offered me a transition now back up in this block to where I just click that button and now we're transitioning nice and smoothly. And it's saying, hey, by the way, here's all these properties that you need for transition. And if you're the kind of person who doesn't like, you don't like the all property, you prefer to just translate or transition specific things like translate, rotate, and scale, you could say, hey, I want to do translate, scale, and rotate. And now instead of all, we're only doing the properties that we want to do. But you're also seeing the code getting written, which is teaching you, hey, okay, when I ask for a transition, this is what I'm given. This is what's important. This is what and you're doing this time after time after time. Your brain starts to learn it. You start to see what you expect, right? And you get very familiar and very comfortable with what's going on here. Everything lives together because I didn't write any of this. I just clicked some buttons, I changed some values, and this is what we end up with. And I wasn't trying to build anything super pretty. I was just showing you, hey, it will write itself. It writes it intelligently. It writes it in context. When I select an image, I get different options from when I select just a blank box or when I select typography, okay? Let's put a random class on here. I now have typography options because it knows I've selected typography. So if I wanted to center this, for example, if I wanted to underline it or strike through it, okay? It gives you those options. Just click, 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 get it done, all in one place, no inception, using the values you want to use, with nesting, with media queries, with container queries, with whatever you want to do. And this is why people give the feedback of, oh, yeah, this is how it should have always been done. This is how it should have always been done. It's a very, very clear conclusion. Okay, so keep in mind, there's gonna be an API for this. So frameworks like Automatic CSS can preload all of the options in, and you don't have to add them on your own. Tailwind users, you will be able to use Tailwind in here. It would end up being, it'll look a little different, okay? It'll behave a little bit different. There's gonna have to be a lot of work to do on that front, but we're aware of the importance of that, okay? This is a framework agnostic builder. You can create your own framework and put in your own options. We also have recipes, which have come out very, very important this week. Now, even though I didn't have the quick actions bar for pseudos and things like that, I do have recipes for them. So if I wanted the after recipe, I can get an after element. If I want a before recipe, I can get a before. What if I want a before after combo, okay, for shared styling? What if I want a focus visible or a hover and a focus visible? Very, very common to pair those together. You can get all these things through recipes. So with quick actions, with recipes, with all of the calc wrapping, var wrapping, auto suggest, all these things come together. You start to build something in Etch and you're just like, oh my God, everything is at my fingertips. Everything is right where I need it. Everything is happening the way I want it to happen instantly. It is insanely efficient, okay? Insanely efficient. All right, okay, so let's go down. I wanna talk about pre-populating. Well, does anybody have any questions on the mini GUI? Anybody have any questions on the mini GUI? That would be my first thing. And then, because I want to show something that I talked about yesterday. I was going to do a very short video. I didn't have time to do it. I'm going to demo it on here. I'm going to show you guys on here what I mean, okay? Okay, so Justin says, you have no idea how much time you save me not having to look up the CSS docs for that one property I can't recall. Absolutely, absolutely. Let me actually, before we move on, let me show you a little Figma action. This is, let me get to, now this is, don't look at this and be like, oh, that's what it's gonna look like next. It's not decided yet. It's not 100% decided yet. But this is kind of what we're thinking of the next evolution of this, where you have, and you know when we did the styling panels, we engineered those quick tabs, which were extremely quick as well. That will give more context to the groups to help you find icons faster. And it will minimize the amount of icons that you see at once. So it minimizes the cognitive load, it helps you navigate faster, but it's still instant. You hit typography, boom, there's your icons for typography, okay? So very, very, very helpful in that regard. I just wanted to give you a little sneak peek of, again, this is not set in stone, but this is kind of the direction we're thinking of going with the mini GUI or the CSS quick actions bar. Yes, how do you horizontal, yeah, show the pre-population. I will, for sure. I will, for sure. But what is important for anybody to understand, I mean, people that have been using Etch for a while now understand this, but we release features way before they're done. We release in every single phase because we want and value feedback at every single phase. So where a lot of development teams might wait until it's super polished like this or whatever to release it, well, a lot of decisions have already been made within that you never got feedback on. So what are you doing, right? We release every possible stage of a feature so that every possible stage gets interacted with and gets feedback on. That's why this stuff comes together so well. That's why it's not a secret to me when people go, this is the way it should have always been done. Well, duh. Because we got that was the feedback, the entire process. People telling you, hey, I think this is how it should be done. This little thing, this little detail. Yeah, you're right, that is how it should be done. Boom, plugged it in. Boom, now you do that 1,000 times and you have an interface where people look at it and use it and go, damn, this is the way it should have always been done. Yeah, exactly, right? That goes back to our community. That goes back to our users. That goes back to our release schedule and our philosophy of software development of, hey, why don't we let the customers participate? Has anybody ever thought of that before? Maybe we shouldn't build the thing in our basement in the dark of night and then release it when it's got 1,000 switches and nobody's ever looked at it before. Maybe we shouldn't take that approach. Maybe we should just, hey, you know what? The people that gave us money, why don't we give them an actual thing to use and give us feedback on? Has anybody thought of that before, right? So it's just a completely different style of behavior. Let's see. Did any questions come in on mini GUI? Nothing. Everybody's good.
Mostly comments. There's a question about, can recipes come to the mini GUI?
Recipes will come to the mini GUI, probably a tab here. So one thing too is you can kind of see it, what it would be like in a long one with multiple options. So see how you can search right here in the context menu? So just imagine that there's an icon for recipes. You click on that icon for recipes and you can search for the recipes, or you can scroll up and down and see all the available recipes. But so it kind of acts as like a little bit of a cheat sheet, but also hey, find this recipe really fast. I mean, we also have auto suggest, right? The minute you type question mark, you get all of your recipes, right? That's kind of, they're all right here. So you can see your grid recipes, ISBG, line clamps, transparencies, variable grids, fading. I've shown all these before. Like, these are insanely helpful things. And some of these are very, very complex CSS that nobody wants to write, right? Like if I want to do an auto grid layout, look what it expands to. But again, it's also the only thing you need to change here. It has instructions in here. All you do is read the instruction, set or change the column count. Okay, let me give you an example of this. Let's back out. For those who don't understand the power of recipes, right? Let's get rid of this nonsense that we've got going on. Here's a section right here. I'm gonna take these images and I wanna put them in an auto grid. An auto grid is an automatically responsive grid, no media queries, no container queries, but I wanna control the number of columns, okay? I wanna choose the number of columns as the user. So I'm gonna go in and put this in, okay? I'm going to duplicate this a bunch of times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, okay? I'm gonna do an auto grid here. So I'm just gonna do a random class. We're not gonna worry about it. And here's my auto grid. Now, Kevin, how do you make an auto grid? Well, it's very complicated. How about you don't make it? How about you don't write it? How about you don't worry about it? How about you type question mark auto grid and hit tab? And now you have an auto grid. Now you decide, hey, I want 2 columns instead of 4. Okay, you change one little value right here. It says it right there. Just read. Set or change column count. Okay, can you flip a number back and forth? Then you can use auto grid, all right? That's all you have to do. So what if you want 8? Okay, now I got my 8 columns. And look, it doesn't matter how many I choose, I just can walk away from it because it's always going to be automatically responsive. Doesn't matter how many, nobody wants to write all this. Nobody wants to understand all of this, and you don't have to. You just throw the recipe in, you move on with your life. What about a simpler one? What about variable grid? Okay, this is a variable grid recipe. What the variable grid recipe does, you don't get to choose the number of columns, but you say what is the minimum size of the elements allowed to be before it stacks? And you could say, okay, this little element right here, it does not look good under 250. So I'm gonna say the minimum's 250. So what it's gonna do is it's gonna pack as many in as it can, but if those things ever get less than 250, it's just gonna start stacking them. And it's never going to squish them more or to be under 250 pixels. This is a variable grid, another version of an auto-responsive grid. You get all of these options at your fingertips, okay, in our recipe system. What if I wanted to fade this block, okay? So I can fade it from top to bottom. I'm doing the whole container. Let's not do the whole container. Let's do one of the images, okay? Let's bring back one of the images and let's put a little class on it, and let's do the aspect ratio on this. Let's do an aspect ratio of 16:9. Let's do an object fit of cover, and I wanna fade the sides. So what I wanna do is fade inline. There, I faded the sides, okay? And now I come in and I say, it says fade amount right here. Oh my gosh, what do I think fade amount does? Maybe it controls the amount of the fade, right? Okay, so a little locally scoped variable, little control point to just come in. I don't have to care how this thing works. I just see fade amount. I go, okay, let me play with the fade amount here. And I can control my fade amount on this element. Do you have to do that on every image, every time, no. But when you need to do it, you don't want to have to fiddle with, okay, how's this done? How is this done in CSS? There's a recipe for it. Done deal, okay? That's what I said. Everything is available at your fingertips. And that's not automatic CSS, by the way. That's Etch. These are native in Etch. Okay. Let's go to pre-populate CPTs. So just as an example here, just so everybody's on the same page, because there may be new people. There may be people who've never, they're seeing Etch for the first time. They're seeing the magic for the first time, okay? They don't understand block authoring. They don't know what's going on. So I'm starting with a blank slate. Let me actually, just to prove to you, I'm gonna hit save. I'm gonna go back to Gutenberg. Here's Gutenberg right here, okay? By the way, there is a really cool, I didn't even know about this until recently. But you can come in here and you can say show template, and it's actually going to show what the page looks like on the front end with your header, with your footer, with everything. Now, I don't have anything on this website, so we're literally seeing a white screen, okay? And if I go into Etch, I'm seeing a white screen. But watch what's gonna happen now. So when I build a section, and I'm just gonna do like a heading with text and maybe a button, and I'll say this is button primary, so it's gonna get my primary button styling. And then maybe I'll throw an image in there as well. We'll put this in, we'll grab this one right here. We'll use this media. We'll do size of full. We will do a selector on it. I'm just gonna do random stuff. We're not gonna, actually, no, I'm not gonna do random stuff. We're gonna do BEM, okay? So we're gonna do enter, because if you haven't seen Etch before, you need to see the magic. You need to see the magic. So we have heading, we have lead, we have, I'm gonna call this CTA. Look how quickly I can rename things in the structure panel. I can wrap this in a div. I can change any element to any other elements, and now that's a figure. Okay, now I'm gonna come in, I'm gonna call this my basic hero. So I've got a basic hero with an inner and all these things. I'm gonna right click, create BIM classes. Now everything has a selector according to what I named it in the structure panel. I don't ever have to write selector names. All I gotta do is organize my structure, right click, click a button, and I'm done. All my selectors are done for me. So now what I can do is I can come in and I can say, you know what, we wanna flex column this. We probably wanna align everything to the center. I wanna take this image right here. I'm actually gonna move this up in the DOM a little bit. So we have a heading, and then we're gonna have our lead here. You know what, I don't like that. I want a little lorem text. I want a little lorem 30. I want a little paragraph action. Oh, look at this. I think we want to center that paragraph. I think we might want to control the width of the paragraph. I'm gonna go ahead and hit inline size right here. And I wanna change this max inline size, maybe a character count, maybe 50 characters, 60 characters. I think 60 looks good. Let's click this. Let's say that this is the primary action. I can throw a URL in here. We'll just make it go to the home page, okay? Nothing crazy. I'm gonna come in here. Oh, that needs to be an H1, okay? Make that an H1. There you go. My awesome heading, okay? And then let's come in here with the basic hero, and let's put on a, let's just put on a background color. Now I haven't loaded all my background colors here, so I'm just gonna say white. We're gonna change this to BG Ultra Light, okay? Never mind the palette. I didn't set up a palette on this site. It's a sky blue. I don't like sky blue all that much, but I'm not gonna worry about it. You know what? I am gonna worry about it. I'm gonna go neutral. I'm gonna go neutral, ultra light, okay? I just want a light gray, okay? And we'll add another section. Okay, I think we've done enough. Well, let's round some corners. How about we do our default radius, okay? Again, I didn't have to think about it. It's just gonna use my global radius token here, okay? And then on here, maybe I'm gonna do the aspect ratio and the object fit. So this is all just kind of coming together. Now, what has happened in Gutenberg? What has happened in Gutenberg? Do I have to slave over some sort of custom block creation process, some sort of parsing engine, some sort of, do I have to opt in? Do I have to right click? No. I just save. I just save my work, and I just go back to Gutenberg, okay? And when I go back to Gutenberg, everything I built is sitting right there as a custom block. Okay, and I look in here and I go, wow, look at this. I got the basic hero, I got the inner, I got the heading, I got everything that I asked for. There's the image, there's the text, there's the CTA. All this stuff is here. I can click on this, I can go to the attributes, I can swap the image if I want to. Let's use this one instead. So we'll select this one, okay? And I think you have to get rid of the source set. There we go. So there you go. Okay, now what happened in Etch? Maybe I should go back into Etch and I should check on things. Oh, it's the same. It's the same. Oh, it bidirectionally syncs. Oh, whatever you do in Etch translates back into Gutenberg, or whatever you do in Gutenberg translates right back into Etch. And then what I have to realize is I can actually take this pattern right here. So I can go in and I can grab the basic hero, and I could say, you know what, I want to save this to the pattern library as basic hero for my client to be able to come in and use, or for me to use in a fashion I'm about to show you in just a second. You could put it in a thing. I think they have a heroes category. We're actually getting rid of all these defaults because they're ridiculously dumb. I'm just gonna make one called hero. I don't want it to be a sync pattern, and I added. Now check this out. I go here, I go to the pattern library, I go to my patterns, look at what's sitting right there. Okay, so if I wanted to go to another page, let's just head over to another page real quick, add page, okay? And then this one, we gotta add one thing because this mode, WordPress didn't think this through. This mode doesn't allow you to set a title for the page. It's the most ridiculous thing you've ever seen in your life. And I actually don't know how to change it back until we get there, but that's neither here nor there. Blank page, I go to patterns, and I go to my patterns, and I say, I need that basic hero. And look what I have. That was built in Etch, but I'm now using it in Gutenberg like I'm a client, like I'm Bev, right? And then I change my heading, so this is a new page. And I can edit directly on the canvas, as you would expect, okay? I'm not gonna worry about all that. I just wanna publish this new page, okay? And I wanna go to the front end, and we now have 1081-2, a new page with that content, with something that was initially constructed in Etch. Now remember, that pattern you're gonna be able to give to somebody that doesn't even own Etch. Maybe they've never even heard of Etch. You're just gonna be able to give them that pattern and it's gonna work. Even if that pattern has a component in it, even if that pattern relies on JavaScript and custom CSS and all this other stuff going on, even custom PHP, that's all gonna work for them, even if they don't own Etch. That's why I say this is the new development paradigm for WordPress as an ecosystem, all right? Okay, now that you've seen that, you understand what's going on, where these things are coming from. How did they come to existence in WordPress, okay? Let's go to Rocket. Actually, I have it up here. This is the one that I built live, okay? I built it, and this is not finished. I just scaffolded it out in 3 hours. See how much can I get done. I'm gonna go to manage it. I need to go to the staging site, and I need to go to WP admin, okay? There we are. So now what I'm gonna do is I am going to go to services, and I'm willing to, I think I can restore these later. I'm gonna move these to the trash. Now what I've done is I built a CPT, a custom post type, and I did not build any custom fields. I didn't do any flexible content. I didn't do anything, okay? What I did is I used a kind of rarely known, little known function in WordPress for registering what is called a block template. And essentially this is a preset number of patterns that I choose. And I say, hey, on the services, when somebody creates a new service, I want them to start with these patterns right here. And then they can edit them and they can do all that with no custom fields, with no nothing. They can just, they just get that. Now there's functionality tied to this where I actually also get to choose how these things are locked or unlocked. I can lock their position in the template. I can lock their editability. I can lock whether they can have things added to them or not added to them. I have a couple different functionality options, right? But here's what I'm gonna show you. There are no services. There are no services. Now what I'm about to show you is not a full block template. It's actually what I would call a pseudo block template. Because I was explaining to people that you can actually hard code things into the template, like a real template, the template structure. Let me show you what I mean. I'm gonna go into, we're gonna get the same thing. Did that already push out? Because I can update real quick. Let's go to appearance plugins. Is already there. Okay, let's go Etch. Do I have to? It didn't go to auto yet. Let's go to Etch WP.
Should have, but
I'll just grab it real quick. Or actually, I can just grab it from Git. That's probably easier. Okay, let's go to Etch. Let's go to, it was right there, wasn't it? Beta 9. Yeah. Beta 9. Save. Okay. This should solve that license key problem. All right, here we are. Is this the right one? It is. Add plugin. Upload. Choose. Okay, beta 9. Install. Okay. Launch Etch. All right, I got to go back and save it, right?
Yeah, you may have to reactivate the.
Let's see. If not, I can show it on local if we need to. Oh, you know what? We changed my license because I burned it on the live stream yesterday. Hold on. Let me take this over here because I'm not going to burn the next one. All right.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
bear with me. We're not going to burn another one. Let's grab this. Let's grab this. Let's put this in. Let's save and activate. Okay. And let's launch Etch. And we're back. Okay. Good. So I'm going to go into templates here. And you can see I have a services CPT, and here's the single services template. So this is a hard-coded template. This is telling, hey, you must load these things like PHP-wise in WordPress on a services template. That's a little different from the block templates. Now again, look, nobody's gonna give anybody at Automatic or WordPress an award for naming things. They are the worst at naming things. So when I say templates and block templates and your brain's like mush, I agree with you. I didn't come up with this stuff, okay? I'm just trying to translate what's happening in WordPress. But check this out. So, and I'll explain it to you when we actually see the magic happen, all right? So I'm gonna go back into WordPress. Oh, here, by the way, this is what I mean, okay? This is Gutenberg. None of this was built in Gutenberg, but it's one-to-one rendered exactly what you would see on the front end. There's the footer, there's everything. So when a client comes in to edit, they're literally editing, like it looks like they're editing the front end of the website. Okay, all right, I just wanted to take a little pit stop there. So now let's go make a service page. Again, there's nothing here. I'm not duplicating a page. The only magic is happening with block templates in WordPress. So I'm gonna hit add new service. And look what I start with. I start with a specific hero that is instantly editable, okay? Didn't have to create any custom fields, didn't have to create any flexible content. I come down here, here's the content section that I'm supposed to fill out with my content. I come down here, oh, look at this. This is a testimonials with a loop, by the way. This is looping. But this, I can't actually interact with. Why? Because this part, I decided to hard code into the template for this custom post type. So this is not even, it doesn't even exist in the structure panel. It's there showing me, hey, this is gonna be on that page when you're done, but I can't interact with it because I wanted this to be locked away. This does these FAQs based on relationships according to the service. Client doesn't need to worry about that. They don't need to touch it. I hard-coded it into the template. What about this thing? Hard-coded into the index template. It is a footer CTA that exists right before my closing footer. It shows up on every page. They're seeing it here as a visual representation because they're looking at the actual finished page, and they're also seeing their footer. But the things I wanted them to be able to edit are sitting right here so that they can edit them, okay? So we're gonna go bev.1. We're gonna go bev.2, and now they're editing directly on the canvas, right? Bev.3, they're gonna grab this image, they're gonna come down here, they're gonna change the image. We're gonna get this to, I'll just do this one so it's obvious that I've changed it. I'm changing the image. I'm gonna publish the page. This wasn't even a page that existed a minute ago. I'm gonna write, look at this. It's a done deal. It's a done deal. And they were only able to edit the things I wanted them to be able to edit. And all the other things I didn't want them to touch, you can either lock the pattern or you could do what I did, which is hard coded into the template. So it's forced to be there and they can't interact with it. There's no possible way they can break it. They can't move it around. Bev can't come and put the FAQs above the hero, okay? None of that, none of the shenanigans can happen. This is a brand new paradigm that does not exist in any other tool. That you can, again, mix and match with templates. If you want custom fields, you can still have custom fields. We integrate with ACF, we integrate with Metabox, we integrate with Jet Engine. ACPT, is that one's coming very soon, okay? But you don't have to anymore. You have this new option available to you where you program a specific post type for, hey, the layout's supposed to look like this. Just feed it to the person who's making a new post and let them edit the content and let them hit publish. And they just move on with their life. And they do it directly on the canvas. Okay. Grab screenshots. Yeah. Not today, Diddy. All right, you're not getting my license today. Okay.
They were ready.
They were ready. All right, let's go down. All right, so I want to get into questions, demos, and then we're going to get into what's coming next. okay? What's coming next? So I'm gonna go over to hashtag Q. Oh, show us how. Okay, yeah. Good, Andre. Good call. I'm about to show you something that you don't want to do, and I don't want to do, and I just acknowledge that ahead of time. And this is not the path forward. This is not what we're saying you need to do. We are going to build a UI for doing this. Now, let me show you how I would imagine this may be happening. So in Etch, when I build something, two different things. I would right-click and I would say register as pattern, something like that. Okay, let's use our imagination right now. Register as pattern. What that would do is store that in the Etch pattern library and in the WordPress pattern library. You would give it a name, you would give it a category, bing, bam, boom, you're done. Okay, that's number one. Number two, I would have the option to register to CPT, okay? Where I would have a function maybe to build a block template. And then I would come in and I would say in the Etch interface, I would be able to say, okay, for the services custom post type, I want the patterns to be this hero, this feature, this content, this testimonial, this CTA. I want to lock this one. I don't want to lock this one. I get all the controls available to me. I hit save and it saves that as a block template, registers it to the CPT. You move on with your life. You do all of that with a UI in Etch. That's the future, okay? What you have to do right now, and it's not super difficult, it's just annoying, okay? What you do right now, it's not hard. I have a snippets plugin, a code snippets plugin, which by the way, you're not gonna need when you have Etch, okay? You'll be able to manage external snippets in Etch, but I'm gonna open this. And this is essentially doing the magic, okay? So it's a specific WordPress filter where we target the post type. So I'm targeting the post type of services. And then each array is a pattern. And I'm calling the pattern by its slug, core/block/, and WordPress gives all of these patterns an ID when you store them. And so you're just saying this ID, this ID, this ID, this ID. And you just make this little list and you hit save and you're done. And we're gonna share this with you right now so that you can actually go do this right now. But this is not how we would want people to do this in the future. Like to do this the right way, we build a UI for it. We make it super easy. You do this from inside of Etch. But you could literally do this right now with Etch. You could literally take this code, you would change your CPT name, you would put in the IDs, you would duplicate the array for as many patterns as you need, and you would hit save and you're done. Okay, it is not hard. It is not hard. It's just not the ideal workflow that we want users to have. Okay, let's see. Why should clients suddenly start building the pages themselves, playing Lego? I always thought we agreed that clients better not access the website at all. That's a really good question. So there's my philosophy, and then there's what Etch should be able to do, and what everybody, and then there's the most extreme person on one end and the most extreme person on the other end. And we're building a tool for any of those people, any of that variance, okay? So for me, I tightly control what people can change on a website when I'm the agency owner, okay? Tightly control. But not everybody goes by that philosophy. A secondary philosophy is I want my clients to be able to edit and I want them to have a good editing experience. Okay, so that's what we're providing. And here they're not assembling pages with Legos, as you said. They are clicking a new service and they're getting Legos assembled for them. You're saying, hey, here's the Lego set for this post type. You just change the content, okay? They change the content, they hit publish, they move on with their life. Whatever you decide that they can change or not change. That's another layer. Now there's another level where literally people come to us. So you're saying one thing, but my email inbox also has dozens of people going, I love that that the block authoring thing and registering as patterns because my clients can go in and actually build landing pages like Legos. That's what they tell me. Or I can hand this off to a marketing team who can take all this pattern library that we've built as developers and all these components where we've tightly controlled their functionality and their styles and their variations and all of that. And I can hand that to a marketing person who can go assemble new landing pages for ad campaigns and put in the copy, and they don't need me. And nothing is ever gonna break because everything is so tightly controlled and pre-configured for what exactly this site is supposed to do and how it's supposed to work. So there are people telling me that they want their clients to build like Legos with patterns that they have engineered in Etch, right? But then there's people who don't want that. And they want in the middle. They want to just give the Legos and their clients can just change some content. And then there's people like me who want to lock it all down. And the point is that every layer of that is served by Etch. Every single one of those avatars is served by Etch. Let's see. All right, I'm going to go over to #Q. Okay, I don't have Etch yet, but was wondering if the Etch theme comes with the Etch plugin or is this downloaded separately? So you're buying the plugin. The theme is a placeholder theme. If you go to the docs, and I would encourage everybody, our docs, we've done a lot of work on our docs. But you go to Etch theme, and it says right here, right? It's a companion block theme, specifically for functionality, okay? And then it says down here, it talks about themes in WordPress are an outdated architecture and should be disregarded. The future of WordPress is not found in themes. The Etch theme is provided simply to meet WordPress core architectural requirements. Users are advised to install the Etch theme and never think about themes again. You just don't have to. They're irrelevant. I went on this diatribe like a year ago. Of course, you know, the WordPress core people look at you like goldfish, but you know, their mouth, what? They don't understand. They don't understand. But it's okay. They don't have to understand. We're just going to demonstrate. We're just going to show. And then people are going to be like, oh, okay. Maybe the light bulbs will come on along the way. But that's all right. We don't have to wait on anybody because we control our own destiny. But yeah, you don't have to worry about the themes. You don't have to worry about the themes. And it does come with it. It's not an extra. It's just, you get everything you need. When you buy it, there's no add-ons. You just get everything you need.
Yeah, when you buy, you get both. And since a few hours ago, there's also now a button in the dashboard where you can claim a license. You're going to need the license. You have two separate licenses. One is for the plugin, one is for the theme. You're going to need the one for the theme to receive updates to the theme as well. So two separate licenses, but it doesn't come as an extra. It's an extra hassle because you have to manage both.
Yeah. High Ticket WP says, can we get a CSS linter? Something like prettier to beautify the CSS. Yes, that's absolutely for sure coming. Let's see. For future understanding, is the idea of the Etch element API going to change the way that users use a newly created element? Elements API is a bad name for it. I use that very often, and it's actually not what it is. It's really a component API. And so what that allows you to do as the author of a great mega menu plugin, Nick Ars, I know he can't put the link in the chat, but it's on his website. Maybe we'll link to it down in the description. I saw Kracket in the chat as well. Those two can go out. I mean, we could do a little live UFC thing at our next event because they're both mega menu authors and they're both going to be competing in the mega menu space inside of Etch. So we could do some fun stuff with that, but I'll put links to both of those down below. And what that's going to allow you to do, Nick, is you create a component with the components API for Etch. It registers as a component, but it behaves very differently. Like you control the source code, you control the prop exposure, you control whether that can be like actually opened and edited or whether it's kind of like a black box situation. Whereas it's easiest to just show people. When I go to let me go to introductions, okay? Here's the introduction. Let me just copy this. Let's just go over here to Etch. Let's just go edit with Etch. Okay, leave, whatever. I don't need these things. And let's just paste, okay? And then let's put it in a section. All right, so I've just pasted that component from the patterns website. This is a component right now as if I built it myself. I can literally right click, I can edit it, I can add props, I can link things up, I can change the logic, I can break it. I can do anything I want here, okay? That's not great. That's not great for a third-party developer because we can't have people opening up every facet component and tinkering and break it and then be like, I need support. No. So like if you're going to be a mega menu developer or a facet developer or a form developer or whatever you happen to be building as an add-on, your components are not going to work this way in Etch. They will functionally be the same. They'll have the exposed props. You'll decide what gets exposed, what the logic of those props is, yada, yada, yada. Make sure that people have a good experience, right? but they can't open it, they can't break it, they can't edit it. You control the source, so if you need to push out updates to it, you can push out updates safely. Like, that is what the components API is for, okay? So that's a very, very important thing for third-party developers. And, oh, don't break the staging site. Yeah, that's okay. It's all right. It's not a big deal. I built it in 3 hours. I can fix it. Okay, so that is all good. Go to the next question.
There's a couple of follow-up questions on the theme.
Yeah.
So, the theme is on version 0.0.5 now. If you don't see it in your account, there is a button called Reclaim Etch Theme Now. When you press that button, it will create essentially an order, a free order for you. You will receive a license for the theme via email, and the theme will appear in the downloads section. So you'll be able to download that theme from your dashboard, upload it to your website, activate the license there, and from that moment forward, you'll be receiving automatic updates, like the same way you receive updates for the plugin. And
was there another one?
Yeah. Can we set the licenses in the WP config instead of the Etch config? Yes for the plugin, no for the theme yet. The theme is something that we did very quickly in the past couple of days, so that functionality is not available yet, but we will add that as well.
Let me show you guys something real quick. Just because it popped into my mind. Like, it's amazing the things that we're talking about with like component APIs and all this crazy stuff, because there's another question in here about loops and filters, and just to remind everybody, right? Like, you wouldn't expect this kind of talk from a 1.0 beta product. The things that Etch is able to do, and we just did something last night because it was brought up in the community, and this is again why, like, our community is so crazy. Like, it's, and I walked into a conversation where somebody was helping somebody else, and they mentioned this dynamic data modifier that I didn't even know existed. That, like, and there was already a doc for it. So, like, I didn't know it existed. I didn't even know there was a doc for it. He's helping this user with this thing that I didn't even know we had a solution for yet. That's the kind of stuff that's going on. But this other one was, I built this rating component, and I built it with 5 stars because the way I knew to do the logic and somebody asked, can you do a loop with the stars? Can you do a dummy loop? Can you do a loop with no source data? And even one of our support team people was like, no, I don't think you could do that. But I was like, I think you can, because I think I saw it once, but I don't know how to do it. And so we were talking about that. Well, anyway, it came down to, let me show you what I constructed and then shared last night. So star rating alpha right here. So I'm going to go into Etch. Hopefully. I don't know what's going on with this particular site. I can't access any of those controls. It's something wrong with page unresponsive. I am still connected to the internet, right? We had internet problems earlier. You can hear me, Mateo? I'm still alive?
Yeah, I can hear you. I was answering in chat.
Let me see if maybe I can get into Etch from, it's this whole pattern site. This whole pattern site's not looking, uh-oh. What's wrong with our site? WP admin. Okay, we're in. Let's launch Etch. Okay, I can get there from here. When WordPress doesn't work, you can get there via Etch. So I'm going to go to layouts. I'm going to go to star rating alpha right there. And now we're in. Okay. I want to show you what I just edited this component. And I want to show you. So we've got a rating prop where you can pass in a dynamic rating. This can be from a custom field or from WooCommerce or wherever. It can come from wherever you need it to come from. We have a layout inline or layout stacked. We have a font size to control that. But this is how this is constructed, okay? I reconstructed it to have a loop. It's 1 star, and there's a condition, okay? And we're gonna go through all of this, but this is done with 1 full star and then 1 half star, okay? Now, the reason that this is possible, we're gonna go down here. Again, we were all like, one person was like, I don't think that's possible. I was like, I think it is, but I don't know how to do it, and blah, blah, blah. Okay. So you can loop a static array. So normally you would put like a source here. So you would say like loop services as item or whatever, right? but you can actually loop a static array where you're essentially just counting the number of items that you want. And you say as item/index, which also allows you to do things like this. So in my if condition, I took the props.rating, right? So whatever is being passed into the rating right here, I converted it to an integer to make sure that it comes through as a number. And Jeremy helped me with this, right? And then I measured it according to the actual index placement, right? And so what I get is a 1 star doing all of the job. It's looping through 5 things, but the condition is only showing the proper amount of things based on the rating that's being passed in here. And then if I go into the half star and I look here at what we're doing, props.rating, if it includes a point, so if it's 4 point, 3 point, 2 point, we can assume that it's a decimal, but if it ends with 0, okay, ignore, because 4.0 is not what, we're not looking for a half star in that situation. So if it includes a decimal, but not decimal 0, just show the half star, okay? So this is done with 2-star components, 2-star elements. And then what we have with a working thing is I can click any of these and I can say that this is 4.5 stars and it's dynamically going to change. Now, for those of you who are real keen on these kinds of things, you're thinking other things, like you're thinking, hey, is the star roll of none? Is it aria hidden true? Did he put, let's go here, aria hidden true, class is this, div roll equals none, okay? And then on the parent itself, we're having all of the proper aria stuff that you're gonna need. So all of these, and by the way, we already have a company and they're well known in the WordPress space. When we get started with them and actually sign a contract and stuff, I'll publicly announce all of this. But every actual component that we put into the system through our components API, so we're registering them as official components, accordions, carousels, modals, all the typical stuff, right? Facets and filters. It's all gonna undergo a third-party accessibility audit. So it's not just us going, yeah, our stuff's accessible, right? It's all gonna undergo a third-party accessibility audit from accessibility experts, well-respected in the WordPress space, okay? So keep that in mind as well. People ask all the time, do you respect accessibility standards and practice? Yes, absolutely, okay? All right, so let's go in. I gotta get back to my questions. I showed that to demonstrate, like, it impresses me. Like, if you're not impressed, I don't know what to tell you, but like, it impresses me. Like, when I sat there a little over a year ago and I was like, okay, like, I really hope I can do videos with this after a year. I was doing videos with Etch at like 4 or 5 months or something, right? Now it's literally just taking over at a little over a year. Like, I can't even fathom, I can't believe we're able to do the stuff that it does. And again, it's all documented. Okay, so back to #Q, and Mateo, chime in if you find any super interesting questions.
Let me see. I had a couple one. Is there a release date for Etch 101, which I imagine was meant to be Page Builder 101?
Page Building 101 is starting in January. Etch 1, yeah. So that's good to explain. Page Building 101 Era 4, so this is the next iteration of Page Building 101. It's completely redone, completely re-architected from the ground up for Era 4. If you want to learn Era 4 development principles for free, that is the place to learn it. That's starting in January. 100% free, 100% free. It's going to be on my Geary.co channel. Now, it's going to be done with Etch. Everything will be done in Etch and taught in Etch. So it will also serve essentially as an Etch 101. They kind of just go hand in hand. You're going to learn how to use Etch by doing Page Building 101 Era 4. So that's the answer to both of those questions. As far as the release of version 1.0 stable, that will probably likely be early to mid-January. Be the goal there. And that will also coincide, by the way, with ACSS V4. I didn't plan it this way, guys. I didn't plan it this way, okay? But Era 4 of automatic CSS will also likely be releasing in January. This is completely re-architected, everything rethought, everything. Again, go back and say, is that really how we should be doing things these days? Is that really how we should be doing things these days? The result is somebody just actually did the calculation. 75% lighter, has all of the new standards, has no breakpoints. It's just a completely different experience. That's going to be coming out in January too. But the good news is everything that you learned on how to use it is still there and still pretty much works exactly the same. There's just some slight differences that you got to get familiar with. Can we move the bottom bar where we add blocks, headings, etc.? It'd be nice to have it beside the structure panel for less back and forth with the mouse. Yeah, it's a lot more complicated than you would think in terms of how it interacts with the rest of the UI, because there's also a part of this that has to come to this that you haven't seen, which is a drawer for additional elements that would get registered either by third-party providers or even us. So that has to be architected and engineered, and then we have to figure out how to make sure that that can stay modular and still behave well. But yes. Okay, let's see. Maybe the mini GUI should be in a labeled group with the label title on top of would take half more vertical space of what's already taking. Send me a little mock-up, Kraka, because I'm not exactly sure. I can't really visualize what you're saying. But I'm happy to look at mock-ups. This is a very challenging situation that we're working on solving that nobody else has solved before or even tackled before. So I'll take all the mock-ups I can get. Are there any plans to make inner block in Etch or something like it? I'm not sure what that means. I think you mean like a drop zone, and I don't. Waji or Reinhard would be able to talk about custom block architecture. It's to me, it's not necessary. Etch, inner block is Gutenberg language, and Gutenberg language really doesn't matter. We do all the interpretation and parsing for you. It's a dumb concept. There's no inner block concept in web development that I know of, right? So we just do development things in Etch and they translate to Gutenberg. Will there be an option to export mini GUI settings to another site build? Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, it's not even a question. Let's see. I originally built all my starter templates in bricks plus frames. How do you recommend I learn Etch now and translate that to frame style starter system and Etch components and patterns? Well, we're rebuilding the entire frames library for Etch at patterns.etchwp.com. Some of them will be well, yeah, I don't know the quantity. I don't know the ratios, but some will be free. Some will be pro patterns. If you have a frames license, you will automatically get access to all the pro patterns for Etch. If you don't have a frames license, you'll have to buy the pro side of the library, but all the free ones will stay free. But you don't have to worry about doing any of it. We're doing it for you. We're doing it for you. Is simple animation like AOS GSAP motion in the radar? You can already do that right now. So it's just not part of our specific UI and functionality, but there's nothing stopping you from implementing it. That's what's great about Etch. You have access to all the code. You can do all the things. You can put in JavaScript. You can do whatever you need to do. So there's nothing stopping you right now. It's just not in a cute little UI inside the builder. And we'll just see. We'll see. It's not a priority for me, but that doesn't mean it won't happen. It's going to come down to, we run polls all the time. And we're going to talk about what's next in just a minute. Let's see. Any plans to have icon set management, icon library in Etch? Yeah, actually down to the ability maybe to do like SVG sprites, which I don't think you can do in any other interface. We've already talked a little bit about it, and I've actually done a lot of thinking about what needs to happen on the icon side of things because it is a major problem. But right now, like our dynamic icon element is very, very powerful. You know, there's a gazillion things. We can't do one stream and show the gazillions of different awesome things inside of Etch, but you just got to trust that they're there, buy a license and start to use it. Okay, we did that one. Okay. And if you need to update this pattern, what will happen? Where will we modify it? So that depends on you. If this is a pattern, most patterns, the point of it being a pattern is that it should be flexible. It should be able to be moved around. And I don't need or want global control over it. But if there is a context where you say, I really need and want global control over this, the deployment of this pattern all over the place, then you make it a component. And when you make it a component and you save it in Etch, it authors to synced patterns in Gutenberg. Okay, so, and it exposes the props for the component in the sidebar in the block editor. So you have total control. You have total control. Trust me, all I talk about, people will tell you, if you're new here, all I talk about is scalability and maintainability in web design. So like, that's the mantra. So you don't have to worry about, hey, is that thing that you're doing in Etch, is that scalable? Is that maintainable? Yeah, that should be by default. That's a given. Thank you, Zach. Appreciate it. Zach and I actually were working stuff out on a call. We were actually having fun finding some little Gutenberg bugs related to block templates. So yeah, this is, that's what I'm talking about, right? The community is just insanely helpful. Let's see. I'm skipping some of these. They're just like, seem to be banter with other people. I don't know. Why is there now license? Okay, why? Okay, I think we explained that part. Did you answered the child theme question, right, Mateo?
Yeah.
I
already answered.
What if you want to control the star rating from the post so the client can add a new rating and it will automatically work without having to mess with props? That's the thing. So here you go, right here. Okay, what is your? You could do this with an options page. Okay, if you registered an options page and you said, here's our average Google rating, here's our average this rating here, you could pull this dynamically from an options page, right? Options.acf.field name. And that, I obviously don't have one, so it's gonna throw an error. But if you had an options page with a field name that stored that rating, it would have pulled it right then and there. Okay, if you want to use this rating widget on a WooCommerce card, and you want to pull the rating from WordPress for that WooCommerce product, you do it right there. So you're in a loop or you're in a template. If you're in a loop, you go item.acf. That field name, or in this case, it's a default meta field in WordPress. So you would call that up right there. If you're on a template, instead of item dot, you would use this dot. But you pass dynamic data right into this field, and that component is going to work. And then this is how you can just choose how it views. Do I want this to be displayed inline or do I want it to be stacked? Notice it doesn't affect this one. It only affects this one, okay? This is how props work. If I want this one to be bigger in this instance, I make it bigger. They all scale. What if I want it to be 0.5? Oh, I want a little tiny little rating, okay? That's not accessible, but you could still do it. So these are what I chose to give people as controls. And yes, you are free to pass. You can even pass a new layout option in here. Not a new one, but you could pass the layout dynamically if you wanted to. And because this is a combo box, yes, it is a drop down, but it also accepts a custom value, which is very nice. So you're not even stuck there. And you can obviously pass dynamic data into the font size field as well. So you could give controls inside of Gutenberg wherever this is used in any other sort of format. But also remember, the props are already exposed in Gutenberg. Right? So when I come in here, well, there's something wrong with this Gutenberg install where it may be the position of an element or something, but there's something covering all the buttons, like maybe a pseudo element, something's positioned absolute or something. I'm not able to click anything in here and then it kills the page. So I don't know what's going on with that Gutenberg install, but you would be able to control this from Gutenberg already because the props right here are exposed in Gutenberg. Let's see.
All right, I got a couple.
Yeah, go for it.
Any plans to implement a form builder? No, there are plans to integrate with WS Form.
Yeah, check this out. I'll show them
majorly complex to implement. It is probably the only area that we looked at and we were like, implementing it from scratch is not worth it. A integration is a better choice.
So this site has WS Form. WS Form gives you a shortcode for your forms. Etch parses shortcodes naturally. So when I built this section, all I had to do was go to the front end. And there's your working form. And it's automatically styled by Automatic CSS version 4 because we integrate ACSS with WS Form. And so I have control over all of the form styling, and I ticked style my forms automatically. I don't even have to put a class on it. I just drop it in and it's styled automatically, and it also supports dark mode and light mode. So I didn't have to style this form. All I did was pass the shortcode, hit publish, and move on with my life. It all takes care of itself. Etch parsing the shortcode, automatic CSS, automatically styling the form for me based on the form styles that I told it I wanted.
Speaking of ACSS, will ACSS 4 break my Bricks websites?
No. But it's not backwards compatible with 3.x. So when you upgrade, it's not just going to be like, you're going to have to change some things, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What we recommend is you just stick with it. Like, if you don't have to update it, don't. It's for new installs. It's for new projects. If you want to go through the hassle of upgrading, you can. But ACSS 4 is for new projects.
Yeah. Let's make it clear. ACSS 4 is not backwards compatible with ACSS 3 in a lot of ways. First of all, it removed support completely for Oxygen, for breakdance, for Quickly, for Generate Press. So if you're running websites with those, you don't want to upgrade to 4, you stick to 3. 3 will still be receiving updates for vulnerabilities and critical stuff for the next 5 years. So you're set. If you are building a website, or you have a Bricks website or an Etch website, then you can upgrade to 4. The Bricks one, you can upgrade from 3 to 4. Etch only works with 4. If you are upgrading from 3 to 4 in Bricks, keep in mind that ACSS 4 still has some breaking changes when it comes to the classes and variables supported. So it may require some manual adjustment on your side.
Let's see. There was one here. I'm going to do a demo in just a minute too. There was a couple demo requests. I'll get to those before we're too long into the stream. I'll do what's coming next, and then I'll do the demo. So for the people that want to stick around for the demos, I'll do that at the very end.
Let me address one real quick. Will ACSS 4 retain Fluent Forms compatibility?
No, it doesn't. And there's a good reason for it. We looked at and we tried. Okay, this was not a decision that we took lightly. We tried for 8 months to build an architecture that would work across WS Form, Fluent Form, Sure Forms, all these systems. And forms are a very interesting part of HTML, specifically the HTML, the markup, because there is no standard for how forms are constructed in a lot of ways. And styling is heavily dependent on structure in a lot of cases. And what we ran into is, okay, we can create a standardized framework, like a form framework, right? And we can apply that to forms. So we wanted people to just drop in naked HTML forms and it would style them. But then we kept running into the roadblock of, there's 2 roadblocks. One is the markup was never the same between any of the form systems. They were wildly different. Some better than others, some made sense, some didn't make sense. And if you don't control the markup, you have to put in tons of styling rules and styling overrides. Then you got to maintain them. Then you got to look at every release and make sure nothing changed. And these are systems that we're not using in daily life. So like we got to wait for someone to report that it broke and then go figure out why did it break. And it is a nightmare of maintenance, of investigation, of trying to stay compatible. And then the second thing is some of these form systems have a gazillion bells and whistles. And then all those bells and whistles are done differently. So they got, we got sliders, we got star ratings, we got smiley face ratings, we got this, we got that, and then Fluent has some of those things, but not others, and SureForms has none of them. And then when they do kind of share it, they implemented it differently. And you've got to understand that forms as an architecture is almost as technical and expansive as page builders. Like, so it's almost like styling every instance of every page builder out there. We need to give users a control. Just look at it. Just open the dashboard of what you can control, okay? So form styling, you've got your form defaults. Look at all these inputs. You've got your tabs. Look at all these control points. You've got your sections. Okay, scroll back up. There's your sections right there. You've got field sets. You've got labels. You've got help indicators. You've got all the input fields, all the different states of the input fields. You've got, now you're going to take all that. We're not even going to keep going. You're going to take all of this and then figure out which ones of those things exist or don't exist in this other system. How is it implemented? What overrides do we, this would be our entire life. And we tried. We tried for 8 months to be like, is there any pathway to doing this? And the answer was no, it's impossible. I won't say it's impossible. It's so outlandishly complex and difficult that it's impractical. It's just not, you would sink the boat. It's not something we need to work on. So what we said was, we're going to choose one as our primary integration partner. And based on everything that we've seen, WS Form is the most powerful, most flexible, most friendly, most well-supported. And when I say well-supported, I mean with customer support as well, okay? They lead the industry in customer support. They lead the industry in integration. I have a personal relationship with Mark. When I need something done, it's going to get done, okay? Which is good for users. That's not true with Fluent. It's not true with, Autoblock's form system or whatever other form system you might be thinking about. If I need something to happen, I can pick up the phone and it's going to happen. Okay. So that's good for users. So we had to pick one. We had to pick one and say, this is the one we're going with. And I know it's not the cheapest. Okay. It's fairly objectively, I have to say in my opinion, but it's like, oh my God, I could, if you really wanted me to do a breakdown, I could do a breakdown and it would be hours long. There's hours of reasons why WS Form is better than the other options. And people don't realize it until they get deep into extensive use of the tool. You're not going to see it on surface level. Don't pull up two side by side and make a contact form and then be like, they're mostly the same. Don't do that game. Don't do that game. When you go deep and you figure out where one ends and the other isn't even close to ending, then you understand. Okay. And we've done that. So, that's it. We recommend you use WS Form. It is what it is. We tried for 8 months to make some magic happen with everything across, and we just came to the conclusion that it's too wildly impractical. We just can't do it. We were physically limited from doing it. So we made the decision we made. All right. Okay, ACSS 4 is breaking the entire dark light mode on my website. This isn't an ACSS stream, but I'll answer the question. Is it not backward compatible on that? Could it be a bug? It's definitely not backward compatible. Dark mode color scheme in era 4, and this is not us. This is CSS. CSS for color scheme has evolved tremendously from how it used to be done to how it is done now. There's a new property. There are new functions. So it's done differently now. I will tell you, because most people have not interacted much with it, it is light years better. It is light years more flexible. It's way easier to implement. It's way lighter. It's all of the advantages, but it's also very different. So yeah, you can't just upgrade and be like, whoa, what happened to color scheme? It's completely rewritten. So, and that's why we can't make it backwards compatible. The amount of baggage of era 3 baggage that we would have had this would be a monster, an absolute, and we didn't want to go in, we didn't want to drag, a 100-pound ball behind us, right, on a chain into era 4. It's like, hey, let's just clean slate, do things the way they should be done for era 4, make it clean as a whistle, make it light as a feather, put it out into the world, okay? And that's what we did. Okay, let's do what's coming next, and then we're going to do the demo, one of the demos that was requested. So I'm going to pull this up in my notes, and I will zoom in, and we'll go through this together. I'll bring it up on my screen. Okay. Here we go. So what's next? All right, is this big enough, Mateo?
Maybe zoom in a little, but I'm seeing very blurry on Ecam.
Let me see. I think I'm zoomed in. Oh, there we go. Ooh, okay. There we go.
Yeah,
good now?
That looks good.
Okay. So what's next? PHP authoring. Okay. I don't know what's up with my mouse today. I can barely click things. So PHP authoring, insanely important. All right. I'm going to let Matteo maybe talk about visualizing how this would be implemented a little bit, but I'll just throw a couple ideas out there maybe. Inline PHP in the HTML editor. I'll let him talk about that as a possibility. Some sort of code block that is placeable inside of a pattern or a component where you would run PHP, perhaps even JavaScript if you wanted to put it there. We have JavaScript attached to elements, but that would be a secondary option for that. But Matteo, maybe you should talk a little bit about PHP authoring.
Yeah, so that's also the way I envision it. Inline editing, so having PHP inline with your HTML, sort of like the way it used to be when you wrote like template files. If there's any old school PHP guys in the chat, they'll know what I'm talking about. But also a PHP block that is more similar to like the snippets kind of feature. I think having both has tremendous advantages. We'll have to discuss architecture and potential implementation details and potential limitations and risk management, especially risk management as it comes to security, vulnerability, etc., etc. But that's the way I envision it too.
Cool. Etch functionality plugin, which is what I talked about earlier. That is the bridge between anything built with Etch and a user using it, even if they don't have Etch or an Etch license. AI. I did a teaser post on Facebook and Twitter a while back showing a proof of concept of AI working inside of Etch. It was a very POC, just teaser, just designed to get people riled up a little bit, okay? There are a couple levels of AI. There would be cursor-like function or Copilot-like functionality. So where you're writing some code and it's like, hey, I see what you're doing. Would you like a helping hand? So there will be that kind of thing. There will also be likely the sidebar experience that everybody is used to, where the AI is trained on Etch, trained on how we want everything to be done. It will have the ability to name everything in your structure panel, create BEM classes, create components, drop in loops, configure loops, interact with various parts of the interface. So if you're the kind of person, you're a Mark Szymanski, for example, and you want to come in and just have a little whisper flow conversation with your builder of choice and things just magically happen before your very eyes, you'll be able to do that. If you want to come in like me and use it just kind of when I get stuck and when I need it or feel like I want it, but I don't want to deal with some of its nonsense and hallucinations along the way, then I can use it to that level. It's literally how you prefer to work, okay? You're not going to be forced to use AI. You're not going to have to rely on AI. It's everywhere in between. It's just how do you prefer to work? Go work like that, okay? Components API for third-party integrations and native components, obviously. Talked about that and how important it is. A native pattern library that also syncs with the pattern library in Gutenberg or the block editor, or FSE, whatever you want to call it these days. Custom recipes and a recipe API. So obviously you have all of our recipes that we put in, but it's very important for users to be able to put in their own recipes, share recipes, sell packs of recipes, whatever they want to do, okay? That functionality is going to be available. Facets and filters are extremely important. I need them all the time. This covers things like pagination as well. Pagination, people want me to say. Covers pagination. There will be a map facet. If you actually go to docs.hwp, I did a facets category. This is what's planned. You can see what is planned there, okay? Let me pull my notes back up. Loop through external APIs, very important. It was put off on the back burner for a little bit. This is another reason for the object prop. So right now, for example, you can loop through JSON files, but external APIs is very important. That will be coming very soon. History states and proper undo redo, obviously very important. That will be coming. So it's kind of a T that we need to cross and an I that we need to dot. True component nesting and default slot content, that will be coming. We talked about the repeater prop. We talked about the usable CPT workflow. So instead of it just being a proof of concept sitting there, you will want to create your CPTs. It will be an experience where you're like, yes, I would rather create my CPTs in Etch. Yes, I would rather create my custom fields in Etch. We've got UIs all laid out for all of that. It just needs to be implemented. And then external code injection, I think, is very important. Now, what order this stuff happens in, whether some of this stuff gets kicked to the curb temporarily and new stuff comes in, I would heavily encourage you to go read this page called Current Priorities. You can come to the top. You can read how things get talked about, how things get implemented, how this is not a fixed roadmap, okay? Things do change. We have Monday meetings every single week based on what we're seeing in the app, what we're seeing in the community, shifting needs, shifting market, shifting this, shifting that. We give an idea of what's coming, but it is subject to change at any time. So that is that. Anything else you want to cover before I go into this demo, Matteo?
There was a question about whether or not we're going to keep relying on WordPress, which I think is interesting to address. Because the idea is, like, we don't currently have any plans to leave WordPress, but and obviously we're very tied with the block editor, etc. But we have architected this in such a way that potentially the Etch UI can be picked up, moved to a different platform, and attached by adjusting the API calls. And this would be, obviously, there would be work to do, but it would be technically feasible. So while we're not, we don't have on our radar to go anywhere else at the moment, but we also are aware that we can if we need to.
Yes. I was looking through, making sure there's nothing else before I go on. I'm going to go back to hashtag demo. And there is 3 requests. Demo wrap flow text with paragraphs around an image, but keep the content gap on the paragraphs. Demo in the intro component. If heading is disabled, how can we ensure the remaining headline uses H2? Also, is there a way to add a switch to change the H level H1? Let me show you the switch real quick, just so we can cover that. Because I don't want this to take too long. I want to do Zach's, because I actually think this is a really good demo to end on, because this also highlights a feature from ACSS that's now a native recipe in Etch called Content Grid. And people do know the very basic use of Content Grid, which is assigning certain things to zones in the Content Grid. But I don't think they realize the true power in terms of how this can be used specifically for blog post style content, how insanely flexible it makes the block editor for your blog post templates, even if you start with like a fixed layout template. So that will be a very involved demo. For the people that want to stick around and watch that, like we'll work through it. Okay. It's not going to be too long, right? But it's definitely a little bit more involved than what I'm about to show here. So let's just get rid of this. And I think I had my section intro component that I brought in. Section intro right here. And I think it's colliding with styles that I had on here originally. So let's clean it up a little bit, and then let's do what this user is asking us to do. So I'm going to go edit the component, and we're going to see this is, and let me make sure I'm on local here. I want to make sure I have all the latest updates and everything to Etch. Let's get out of here and just refresh it real quick. Okay, good. So I'm going to go in here, edit component, and you can see right here. All right, so this is one thing that appears like it needs a little bit of help. Div CTA wrapper. Okay, so section intro CTA wrapper. And I just want to display that flex, and I want to throw a gap on there. Fantastic. Okay, so that looks a little bit better. You can also, this is how you, some people have asked me like, okay, it's too late. What if I want the primary CTA to be a button and the secondary CTA to be a link? Well, just go put your button primary class on here. Now, if you wanted to control the styles of that, we can absolutely do that as well, okay? And there are various ways to do that. I won't get into all that right now. This is going to be align items to the center, and boom. So you see the mini GUI in action, right? So what he asked is, this is an H2. What if I use this in a hero section? H2 would be inappropriate. So what I would need is, when I'm using this component right here in this sidebar, I would need to be able to say like that I need to control the tag. Like, do I choose whether it's H1 or H2. Okay, so we go into the component. We're gonna create a select prop, all right? That's down here. And we're gonna call this, you can call it whatever you want. I'm gonna call it HTML tag. And I'll move this up to the top so that we can, it's like the first thing, it's the prominent thing that people see when they use it. My options are going to be H1 or H2. The good thing about a select prop for this is you don't have to give them all the options. Like, you get to tailor it. It's never gonna be an H3, okay? Or an H4 or an H5 or an H6. A section introduction is never going to be any of those. It is always either an H1 or an H2. And we have this prop called HTML tag. And I think we added a right click. So I have this existing H2. If I right click and say convert to dynamic element, it's going to convert it to a dynamic element, which now allows me to come in and pass props.html tag. And now you see I have a dynamic tag pretty much just like that. I'm gonna exit here and I can switch. That is now either H1 or H2, depending on how I'm using this particular instance of the component. So pretty much as easy as that. Now, if you had a subheading that's supposed to look like a heading or whatever, like we've done that kind of pattern before, now you use conditional logic to, when it's an H1, we're gonna hide this and show this. You can build all of that conditional logic in. But that answers that general question right there. A lot of people didn't, they missed maybe the introduction of the dynamic element. Again, docs, elements, and dynamic element, and right here. You can read about it. It's very detailed, tells you what it does, why it exists, how to use it, okay? All that is good. Hopefully that answers that question. Okay, I will get into the next demo. Let me check the chat real quick before we get into the next demo. If you're curious about Content Grid and you're curious about this deeper level of Content Grid, you're definitely gonna wanna stick around. And then this is gonna close us out. Okay, chat looks good. I don't see anything else. Okay, that's all good. Ruben, you should move to Joomla, maybe. Okay. Yeah, I don't know.
Does Joomla have breakdance?
Have you ever used Joomla, Mateo?
I did.
Okay.
Like 15 years ago or so.
Okay.
It's been a really long while.
I've never used it. Stripe Goat, I'm glad that's reassuring. I have no idea what you're commenting in reference to, though. My apologies.
I think it's in reference to our plans to potentially stay in WordPress / we could also move if we needed to.
Got it.
We have options. We're not tied hands and feet to WordPress, but we also don't have immediate plans to leave.
Got it. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this content grid situation on like a post template. So what I just did is I jumped to templates, right? And I decided to go to my single post template here. And that's what I happen to be editing. I made myself a little article tag. This is going to wrap the entire thing. I'm gonna get rid of everything that is here. Post content is a special element that pulls whatever content is in Gutenberg. It pulls that into Etch and into, well, it doesn't pull it into Etch right now. It's kind of just gives you a blank space, but it pulls the content through Etch into the front end. And so let's go ahead. I don't even know on this install if we have a blog post. Let's go to posts and okay, we have something called post 2 and this is what it appears to be doing because there's no template. So what we're going to do is we're going to make that template now. Actually, do I have, let's just double check. Do I have an article tag? Am I wrapped? Yes. So there's my article tag right now. And it's literally just dumping everything that was in WordPress into that article tag. So what we need to do, and I'll leave the front end open. Let's get rid of all this stuff right here. I hate having this tab situation add a control. Okay, we don't need that. We don't need this anymore. We don't need that. Let's get back to here. Okay, so I got 2 tabs. And I'll go back, I'll do this slow so we can go back and forth between here and the front end, just so you can see what's happening as I go. So the first thing I want is kind of a hero section. So I'm gonna grab a hero right here, and I'm just gonna drag it to make sure it lives inside of the article. And I'm gonna call this hero. And I'm gonna call this inner. Now, I don't actually have a design in mind for this, but I'm gonna add a heading. I'm gonna add an image for the featured image. I'm gonna right click, wrap in div. I'm gonna put that in a figure tag. I'm gonna call this the featured image wrapper, and I'm gonna call this the featured image. Okay, featured image. All right, and I'm gonna also start to decide on my BEM structure. So I'm gonna call this the blog hero. And I'm gonna probably make this one block right here. Okay, I'm not gonna BIM this all to the main article or anything like that. I'm gonna kind of use an atomic approach, a somewhat atomic approach to doing this. So there's our blog hero. It has an inner, it has a heading, it has a featured image wrapper, and it has a featured image. By the way, if you want more real estate here, this controls the canvas, which you can double click to get it back at any time. There's also a handlebar for controlling the size of this. You can also, if you don't want this, you can get rid of it. I'm gonna put in a placeholder image here just for now. Fantastic, that's all good. Okay, so I'm gonna let that blog hero be done. Now, this post content, I'm also probably going to put into a wrapper as well, but I wanna think about this in terms of content grid. What does it need? Does it need an entire section and all of that? Not really, not when you're using content grid. And if you want the full scope of content grid, you kind of just need to put this in a dummy wrapper, and that's about it, okay? So I'm gonna wrap with a div, and we'll call this body, and I'm just gonna leave it as a normal div, but this is gonna be or how about this? Content wrapper, that's a little bit clearer. So you have a content wrapper and you have content. That should make perfect sense right there. So this hero, I'm gonna right click and create BEM classes on. And then I come down here and I see that we have this content wrapper. I'm gonna call this a blog content wrapper. I'm just gonna give it a block class, okay? And what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna make sure that it is actually, I don't want any flex on there. I'm gonna use content grid on this. Let's just start with the content grid recipe, okay? I do want probably inline size, all right? Let's go down here and see inline size 100%, max inline size 100%. I don't have any padding in here right now. That's all good. I might go with like block section padding in a minute, but we're gonna see how all this shapes up. Let's save. Let's just go see what's happened. Okay, so let's go to our front end. So we have our heading that we would expect to see. We have our featured image. Then we have our content down here. And I'm gonna look at the actual structure of what's going on now. So we have this content wrapper, which has grid. Now, there is a little bit of a specificity problem with Gutenberg, a little collision. And this is where I was actually talking with Zach about this, of what actually needs to happen. I believe it's the display grid sometimes gets overwritten. Or no, it's the choosing the children. Is BG padding inline. For Gutenberg. Rendering, remove if unnecessary. Well, we put this in here, Zach. Is it the display contents that's causing a problem? We were debugging this for a long, because Gutenberg messes with everything. Let's see, because I don't think these things are put in there. They're not put in the content. Grid column content, where not? Grid column content, they're not put in here. Gutenberg is all, some of these things, man, it's just the most obscure. Okay, what else did I do? I took the wear off. That's one thing that we tried, and that definitely shouldn't fix anything. Because if we're having a specificity issue, that's not going to help for sure. Is Zach in the chat? Monitor, because I can't watch the chat at the same time. So monitor for Zach to be in the chat. And see, because I haven't used this. He was
around, yeah.
I haven't used this since we changed it. The display grid seems to be working fine. It feels like it's this grid column content. Where not?
Zach says, no, that rule is for actually inside of Gutenberg.
Oh, not the front end. Is that what he's saying? Not the front end. Okay. Well, something else.
That's how I take it, yeah.
Okay, something else must have gone awry in this recipe then when we touched it. Let's see. if I can quickly diagnose, it feels like these things are not being assigned. It says they are, but like if, okay, those are, is it the figure that's not, is it just the figure that's not? Line items norm. Oh, content. Oh, okay. It's not, content grid's working. This blog post is already set to try to do stuff to the content that's inside of it. Okay, that's normally not what happens because you're normally not doing this backwards. So in this post, this stuff, yeah, look at this. There's a gallery in here and it's got classes on it. Okay, normally this would not be like this because you don't do this backwards. So you go to the gallery. It's got content full on it. Let's get rid of that and let's hit save. Okay. And let me go back into here and did I take that rule out? Because we're going to need it. Okay. I think that's fine. Let's go back to the front end. And so there we go. Now we're getting back to where we were. I was wondering like, why is stuff touching the edge? Okay. All right. We are all fine and dandy. Let's go back to the template. And what we want to do is we want to set a content width. And I'm going to do something like 65 characters. And then we can go back and we can see what this does. So this is going to start to look like this is all a narrow column. You can see all the way down. It appears to be a narrow column. I actually want it to be a little narrower than that. Let's go 55. I kind of like the tighter approach here. Now, obviously all this content stuck together doesn't look good, does not look good. Well, I'll tell you right now, getting rhythmic spacing between your content is a pain in the ass. And having control over it is a pain in the ass. And there actually is no builder available that actually gives you the controls to do that properly. But there is ACSS. There is, my friends, ACSS. And so if we do smart spacing on here, and then we refresh, voila. All of our spacing is there. And if we had headings in there, all of this is controlled by this smart spacing area where you control the spacing of each of your headings, of your texts and lists, of nested lists, of flows, of figures, of fig captions, of block quotes, of anything that would exist in a blog post, you have control over the spacing of from automatic CSS. Feature that does not exist in any other capacity anywhere else. They're starting to see it and learn from it and implement it, but I haven't seen it done well anywhere else. So we're starting to take shape. Well, let me throw a heading in here somewhere, just so you guys can see. Where's Gutenberg? They all look the same because they're authored. Okay, so let's add I'll show you guys a trick in Gutenberg. If you didn't know, if you want an H2 heading, boom, boom, pound, pound, you get a heading. Okay, so this is like, well, section heading right here. And then we can come down here and we can go another section. And then we can come down here and we can say a subsection. This is an H3. Now let's go back to our front end. Look at how so you have the spacing between the paragraphs, but different spacing for your headings. It is rhythmic spacing, right? And you control the rhythm, which is nice. So this is all taking shape now. I don't know. I'll just be honest with you. I don't know what's happening here with this gallery. It's usually a CSS issue with Gutenberg stuff, and it probably has something to do with their display. Grid column. Okay, that shouldn't be affecting it. There's definitely something that goes all the way. What did they do to look at this. Okay, their figures are calculated at 33% width. WP block gallery dot has nested images figure dot w. Whoever did the CSS for Gutenberg, I know it was a lot of people.
Zach says he sent you something in your circle DMs.
Okay, good. All right, let's go open it. He's probably run into this situation before. Body is layout flex, display flex, flex wrap. I mean, what is this supposed to fix? Figure body is deciphering Gutenberg. I mean, I could put it in automatic. I could just throw it in automatic CSS. I don't know. Actually, I can't. There's a SAS issue here. Let's just do this. Is it just missing its display flex property? Like, where did it lose its display flex property from? Let's go back and look at it. It's this thing right here. You can never select the actual parent. Columns 3, large. That's so weird. Okay, what is it called? WP block gallery. The good thing is you can write CSS to target anything from your blog template. So if I know this is a problem in my blog content wrapper, right, I can fold all this stuff up and I can say, hey, there's going to be something called a block gallery. Let's display that as flex. All right. And then we can go back. Let's see if that fixed it on the front end. It did. So now we're back in business. Okay. So you could fix it from Etch. It's not a problem. All right. This is all starting to take shape. Now, let's do a little bit to show the mini GUI of the styling up here. So for example, I can right click, say add media query, and I'm just gonna guess a number because I actually want these things to be left aligned on mobile. So like on mobile, I want it to be like that. I want it to be left aligned, okay? But on desktop, I don't. On desktop, I want it to be centered. So I'm gonna come inside of this min width media query right here. And I'm going to say that we are going to display this as a flex column, and we're just going to center everything. And naturally, just by doing that, it's going to do what I want it to do on mobile because I'm only making those changes above 1,000 pixels. Now, is 1,000 pixels the right thing? You decide. You could do it way down here if you wanted to. You just change the value from 1,000 to 775, whatever you want, you know? Doesn't matter. Whatever looks good for this particular block, it's fine. I can click this image right here and I can say, hey, let's round the corners of those. Let's control the aspect ratio. Once again, this is very common stuff. Let's object fit cover it. Okay, now that looks great. So let's go to the front end. Boom, that's what we've got there. Hey, that needs to be an H1 instead of an H2. Hey, that needs to have the dynamic title. Okay, this.title, post 2. Done, dynamic data, injected. Hey, this needs to be dynamic. This.featured image. Great, it's dynamic now, okay? Let's go to the front end. Let's see where we're at. Now we've got a dynamic title. Now we've got a dynamic featured image. Now we've got nice rhythmic text down here. We're using this Gutenberg block, but watch this. From inside of Gutenberg, okay? I can take anything like this gallery and I can drop a utility class on it that says content feature max, and I can save. And I can go to the front end, and this is me accessing these zones that are created by Content Grid. Now check this out. What if you wanted this to go full width all the way to the edge? You could say content full, okay? Not feature full, content full. And that's gonna go all the way to the edge. Let's go back here. Now, what's cool about this is you can nest Content Grid inside of other content grids, okay? So you can come in Gutenberg. By the way, this one paragraph right here. Let me just show you something. Content, feature, just feature. I don't want to feature max it. Maybe that's a block quote or something. Just pretend. We're not going to do all the details, okay?
Zach suggests to apply the template in the Gutenberg sidebar so we get the same view inside.
Oh, yeah. Good call. Let's go post, template. Oh, I'm showing template. I just haven't refreshed. There you go. So now we're seeing exactly what it would be on the front end. Okay, so let's go down. Where did oh, there it is. I was way down in the content. Okay, so there's my full width thing. There's my little featured paragraph. But remember that could have been a block quote, whatever you wanted it to be. Also, I'll show you programmatic in a minute because the utility class I'm using is not the only way to do this. But let me show you something extra special, and I'll see if I remember how to do this because I don't do it very often. You can do a group block, okay? This is like a div in Gutenberg, okay? And if I do a group block and I go, and actually you might need, I think I still have utility classes for these things. Am I selecting the right thing? Selecting group, okay. Width full, okay? Content grid would be one of them for sure. Does width full still work? Oh, is it width 100 now? I gotta see. But we also need to go content, if I'm remembering correctly, full. Actually, we don't need width 100, I don't think. We just need content full. Okay, let's start there. All right. Now, what I have turned off in here, but imagine that it was turned on. I have it turned off though, is all those controls for like padding and background color and things like that. What I'm getting at here is that you can essentially make your own like little section that goes edge to edge inside of this blog post for like whatever custom thing that you wanted to put in here. Let's go back. I never use Gutenberg, so I am so slow in Gutenberg. Heading, can you put things in the group? Thank you. Okay, good. So this is my custom group. And then on here, is there that stupid, layout uses inner content width? Don't do that, okay? Now, let me show you what would happen if I didn't have content grid on here, okay? Obviously, this is gonna go edge.
Suggests an ACSS BG class.
Okay, yes, I could do that. Let me go to, there's my group. The interface in here, I can't stand it. You guys are really like putting me through the paces right now. This is not the life I want to live. BG, let's go ultra dark, okay? So notice the text turned white too, because that's a color relationship class. So just, again, we're visualizing here of what's possible. I'm not gonna go through the whole thing, but I'm creating a custom thing. Now I can turn that div. Guys, you gotta understand this. I can turn that div into a content grid itself, which then sends that content right back to content width to be aligned with everything else, except for the fact that, dude, I keep clicking the wrong tab. Except for the fact that inside this group, I could put an image in here, okay? I can use its own thing. Let's go like with this thing right here. And that thing can be post block, advanced. Did they hide? This is what I'm talking about, the inception of UIs. Which panel is it in? Which accordion is it in? Which modal is it in? Okay, so additional classes here. Let's go content, feature max. Look what I'm doing. Constructing, did I not put the image inside the thing? Dude, Gutenberg is fucking atrocious. Dude, I was on the group when I added it. What do you want me to do? Save, okay. Go to the front end. Look, I'm like building a section of content inside of this blog post and controlling exactly how it gets laid out. So I'm gonna go here. Instead of content full, I could say feature max. And now this little block right here that I built is not gonna go edge to edge. It's only gonna go right there. This is content grid inside of content grid, giving you the same exact content alignment plus the zones inside this secondary object. And it can go forever. It can nest forever. And so that's cool because you're not gonna see that happen anywhere else. Now, let me delete that monstrosity that I just built and show you something else. So I did a gallery. Is there anything else fun you can add in here? Let's say, dude, they come up with the dumbest stuff. Stretchy heading, for real? Powers 42% of the internet. We're gonna release a stretchy heading. Okay.
Somebody said a block quote earlier. I don't know if you already added it.
All right, here's a block quote right here. Here's a block quote. It should, I don't think there's any default styling for this though. Like, okay, what does it allow? Yeah, color, text. Look, you gotta come in here and like turn on different controls. Holy smokes, this is, okay. Let's make it have a drop cap. Okay. Oh, does the drop cap disappears when you edit it. Okay, that's great. Dude, with the panels, I'm gonna have a panic attack with the panels. I gotta stop. Okay, let's just do that. Let's just do that. This is crazy. I don't ever want to do this. Never again. Fire anybody that gives you these panels and these sidebars and this inception. This is the inception UI that I was talking about in the beginning. Let's go content, feature, max, okay? You get the idea. Don't make me do it anymore. Here's your blog, here's your quote that's stretched out against this content. Now, you can also, let's get rid of all that we just did. Let's get rid of the utilities, okay? I'm gonna show you something very cool because you probably don't want Bev doing this, okay? Bev will, total destruction. She will maraud her way across these blog posts and you will not know what happened. And you will have to have a very hard conversation with Bev about, look, we can't let you touch the website anymore, Bev. Okay? It's too dangerous. We can't let you do it. How do I select the gallery? Notice that when I've looked through here, I no longer have the list. I know I have to go back to it every single time. Then I got to go back in here every single time. Okay, I'm going to get rid of that. Look, where'd it go? Where'd it go? I got to go back in here, back down here to every single thing I did this to. Okay, save. Are we back to normal? So let's say you want to create a nice little creative blog post, kind of, it's layered, it's got different expansions, it's got this cool stuff going on. I'm going to throw an image in here. Let's go to the media library. Let's grab this. Let's drop this in. It's just going to behave normally like it's supposed to behave. Okay, there's the featured one. There's that right there. Okay, so I'm going to programmatically, watch this. You want to know this. You want to know this when you're using Content Grid. So you come over to the content wrapper. You can fold up this code if you want. Remember what I did to the block gallery right here? I can also go grid column, feature max. I can come down here and I can say, hey, find any block quote that lives in there. I want you to go grid column, feature. Hey, find any gallery that you come across, okay? Any figure that you come across, I want you to do grid column, feature max. So anything that's in a figure, we feature max it. But hey, you find one of those WP block galleries, I want you to go full with that. Take any of those galleries you find, go full with that, okay? And then we're gonna refresh here, we're gonna refresh here. It found a figure and it feature maxed it. It found, I gotta go up to find the rest of the stuff. It found a gallery and it full widthed it. It found a block quote and it featured it. So this is programmatic targeting of specific things at the template level so that the person writing the blog post, they don't have to worry about any of this, okay? And so watch what this experience looks like in the editor. So I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna go gallery, right? Okay, gallery, let's add, look what happened to it. It broke out of the content and it said, hey, I'm a gallery, I'm supposed to be full width according to my instructions, okay? So it's just gonna do that. And your client doesn't even have to worry about it. They just choose their images for the gallery and it's gonna do what you told it to do. Guys, I don't think you understand. I don't think you understand the game-changing nature of this, okay? So that's Content Grid for blog posts, nested Content Grid. I'll go back and see what the chat is saying. Then we'll get out of here. You can also create patterns in Etch, assign them the patterns, and they can add it from the pattern library. Yeah. Okay, good point. It's good to have Zachary. Let's pop this in here. You can literally go into patterns and you can have pre-made blog post style pattern things that they could use. I wouldn't recommend this necessarily, but they could drop a literal hero in here. Now you're probably like, Kevin, that hero can't work in there because this is a narrow blog post template. There's no way you would put a hero in there. Well, just remember, we're in Content Grid land, and in Content Grid land, you can pretty much do whatever you want to do. So yes, basic hero is on there. We can also put Content Grid. Actually, we don't need Content Grid on there. We just need content full. Guess what? You now have a working hero inside of your blog posts, okay? It doesn't have let's put a background color on it. Let's go BG Ultra Dark. Holy smokes, and the text went light. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me right now? Look what, I'm just throwing patterns into blog posts. Content Grid is the most flexible layout system for this kind of situation that's ever been devised. And this is a tremendous display of that. So now all of the patterns that you've built, you can decide which ones live in a blog or an article category and be like, hey, you can use any of these you want in an article. Have at it. Have at it. It's amazing, right? It's amazing. So let's do a little scroll of the chat. We'll get out of here. I know it's been a while. 11, 12, 1, 2. We're heading up on 3 hours. It is an end of the year broadcast. We still have 165 people. This is phenomenal. Phenomenal. Let's see. I'll also say if anyone on the team wants to Discord me something, if you want me to point anything out, you can do that. Last call. WTF is a stretchy heading block. I don't know either. Let's put one in. Stretchy heading. Holy smokes. Okay. Let's open the list view so we know what we're interacting with here. Oh, that's a horrific idea. It's a heading that changes its size based on how much content. Why would you ever want this? Why would you want this to happen? Oh, and you can't. Can you even you can't line break in it either. Can't line break in it. What controls does it have? None. That's always good. Yeah. Why would I want to style my heading? Why would I want to do anything to it? I can turn some on. I love how I have to like build my builder as I go. It's like, okay. What's this doing? What is this doing? Okay. Let's show me the DOM. Okay, let's go. Holy smokes. Okay. Well, it obviously doesn't like content grid. Let's go to CSS classes. Content full safe. Full safe gives it a gutter so it doesn't touch the edge of the screen. What is happening to this stretchy heading? It's refusing to do anything useful. Not that I'm surprised, but where did it go? Wow. Wowzers. What's happening? Font size 789 pixels. No. Jeremy says, do we want to show the AI panel? This was a DM that just came in. If you want to see the AI, I don't know. Do we? I'll let Mateo decide. Guys, what is happening on my screen? I don't even understand the concept of this. When would you ever want this? And why is it not doing what it reports to do? It doesn't look like it's this. They should have called it a stacky heading because that's what it's doing. It's not stretching. What is going on? I can't with it, dude. I can't with it. We gotta delete that before it triggers a massive rant about WordPress leadership. Okay. Or the Media Hub Figma that you mentioned earlier. Well, we can definitely give them a taste of the Media Hub.
Yeah, let's do that.
Jeremy Sandbox. We'll also give them a little taste of this. A little node view for template management and template architecture of your website.
Nice.
A lot of people like this. We've teased this before. A lot of people like this. Let me zoom out. Let's go find media. Media. Sidebar. Media. Oh, wait a minute. Is this what I was looking for earlier? No, this is something different. Okay, let's go in here. Component editor, indirect selectors, iframe embeds, styles manager. We could show that too. Here's the bottom elements drawer concept. Again, these things are just conceptualized right now, but a potential drawer for these elements and how they're organized with tabs. Mainly, you're going to deal with this quick actions area for your elements, but for elements that are more rarely used, we would need a little drawer for them. Loop panel UIs, array prop UIs. Here's the Media Hub. Okay, as a potential example for media management in Etch. So you have maybe collections, whatever you would want to call them, categories, whatever. These would be queryable for sure. You would probably have both like tags and categories, kind of visualized as folders or whatnot. And then you would have like a list view for your images here. But you would also have the ability to open an image like this, and you would have, of course, all of the data that's attached to it, probably image optimization tools directly embedded in here, conversions from like JPEG to WebP and yada, 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 all that happening potentially inside of here. Just spouting off ideas that have come to mind and things that I would want inside of media management. But yeah, this is, the point is, a lot, the archaic WordPress dashboard and admin and media library and all that gets a lot of heat. And our point is like, yeah, it can keep getting, we don't have to worry about it. We don't have to whine about it or complain about it anymore because we're never going to have to interact with it. We're just going to interact with our own tool. And this is how it should have always been done. Let's just go back to that over and over and over again. This is how it should have always been done. And we'll enjoy our experience, and everybody that wants to bury their head in the WordPress sand can do that. They can do their own thing. And we'll live our life. They can live their life. Our life will just be way better. I'm glad to hear this, Ronald. I'm glad to hear this. I'm glad to hear this. All right. Sebastian likes the node view. Calm down, Sebastian. He's getting a little excited. Okay. No, I like the node view. The node view is very sexy. The node view, very sexy. So that's media management. Somebody asked about buttons. Buttons. Can we get a button element, please? There's plenty of room. Just give it to us. No, we thought about that. And the problem is, one, you don't use them very often. Two, anybody that is trying to learn would add 1,000 of them to their site before they realize that it's not the thing that they should be adding. And so I came to the conclusion that anybody that actually knows they need a button element also knows how to quickly make it. And it's as quick as this. So let's say I wanted to add it into this blog hero section right here. I click the anchor link and I click that and I go button. And now it's a button. You can also just drop your href off there because you don't need it. But that's literally, now that's a button. And it can look like a button, but it's not an anchor link anymore. And so with it being as easy as that, it's just, we don't have to clutter. Again, you gotta put your NASA engineer hat on. Could we do it? Yeah. Would it make the shuttle heavier? Yeah. And if you make too many of those decisions, you end up in the land of 1,000 switches, the land of 1,000 elements, clutter, nonsense, chaos. We don't want to go there. If it doesn't need to be there, maybe it shouldn't be there. Maybe it shouldn't be there. All right, let's put this one in the books. That puts this year in the books, actually. I want to end with this. There's a lot of people who own Etch already. Now, if you don't own Etch already, I don't know what you're doing with your life, okay? You should obviously own Etch. But there's people who own Etch already, and they haven't used it yet. They've been telling me, Kevin, as soon as it hits 1.0 stable, I'm diving in, Kevin. I'm just going to encourage everybody. We're about to be on a holiday break. Your clients are not going to be ringing your phone. They're not going to be expecting you to do any work. This is the perfect time if you have any downtime and you're like, hey, should I read a book by the fire or should I open Etch and play with Etch a little bit? I'm just going to encourage you. Hey, just open Etch and play with Etch a little bit. Just get started a little bit. Just build some small thing. Build a little hero section. Build, if you want to be more ambitious, see if you can build a blog post template, But just get your feet wet. Drop a little loop in. That won't kill anybody. Right click, make something on a component. That won't hurt anybody. No harm done. All right. Very easy. Just get in there, play with it a little bit. And then January, I think you're going to have a little bit of a feeling. And your feeling is going to be like, probably need to be just building everything in Etch. That's probably what I should be doing. And I want to just make sure everybody understands when we went to beta, we committed, we said, hey, if there is going to be a breaking change, we are going to build a upgrade pathway to that so that you won't end up with any disasters on your hands. So you can feel confident, and people already are. There are dozens and dozens and dozens of production websites built with Etch now. and people are fully building in Etch, like they have abandoned the old systems and old workflows. They're fully committed. And they know with our promise, because we built our own sites in Etch, we don't want to break our own sites. If there's going to be a breaking change, there's going to be a seamless upgrade pathway. People already saw this with the Autoblock authoring. When we re-architected, there was a button you click and it says, upgrade my blocks, and it just happened, and then it moved on with their life. That's kind of the thing we're talking about. So there will be upgrade pathways. You don't have to sweat. You don't have to stress. Like, okay, I'll build something, but is it going to implode when 1.0 gets released? No, it's not. It's not. Okay? So get in there, use it, have fun, see us in January, because 2026 is going to be a wild year, my friends. A wild year. Things are radically going to change. 2026 is the year of Era 4. And with that, we will sign off. Peace. Love you guys. See you soon.